exactly what you do. When someone is new, when they come up here, how do you teach them the course, or do they just slowly drive through? Well, we do a 30-minute course walk at the start of the day. That makes good sense. I see those on their side right now. That makes a lot of sense. Now we go through the newly renovated skid pad. That was the initial chicken. That area is to try to see how the drivers can make it through. Fabiani looking to the inside of Miller. Oh, still can't make the pass, but boy, gave it a good stout run at that point in turn number 1. They head down toward turn 2. It's a little bit of an S's situation right there as they come through turns 2 and 3, heading up to that big carousel turn in turn 4 at the water tower. They work their way down the hill. Now, you don't see the elevation change so much on camera as you do here in person. There you see a little more of that elevation change from the drone shot coming into turn number 6. Fabiani right on the back bumper of Miller this time. If Blake's going to have anything for him, he needs to try to show it this lap. He's tightened up more so this lap than any other time around, and it looks like Fabiani may have a run on Miller. Let's see if he tries to cut him out in one of these obvious passing spots here here, maybe going into turn number 10. No, he can't do it there. Now he comes up to the inside and then pulls back in single file. You see him using all of that racetrack that he can to try to set up for a good exit off of the track in order to try to make up some ground. But so far, Will, that strategy's not working for him. He seems to be fading a little farther back. Now there's 2 car lengths in between them when they were right on the bumper a moment ago.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, what happens when you get in traffic, you start fighting the guy in front of you, and then the leader just is able to catch the train on out of there and build a huge lead over second and third place, and that's what we're seeing happening right now as Bill Miller, Blake Fabiani just crossing the stripe right there. And, you know, I'm sure Keith is loving it right now, but I know Blakely's got to be getting a little frustrated right now being behind Bill. And Bill is a longtime regular of the series. He doesn't race in every single race, but it's always fun to see him out here holding his own. And with the smaller field today, he's getting to run up closer to the front. And so, you know, we're happy to have him. Happy to have the competitors right now. And, oh, look at that. A little side-by-side action going through the carousel. Blakely managing to get around Bill Miller right there. Made the pass mid-carousel. We don't see that happen too often. Look at this. Bill Miller shooting it down low.
Oh, man. Can Blake hang on?
Side-by-side through 6. Can he make it? Oh, they're still side-by-side. They're going to be caught in the acceleration zone coming up through turn 7. Looks like Blakely has a slight advantage, but they're still wheel-to-wheel.
Wow.
And there goes Bill Miller on the binders, yielding the spot to Blakely as they make their way through that high-speed turn 8. And you saw Blakely actually get a little squirrely there on that turn out. So I'm wondering if that's that repair, if he's trying to figure out what was wrong with that linkage, if it's holding.
He's still sliding around as he comes through there. You see the rear end fishtailing just a little bit on his car.
And that car looks to be a handful for Blakely Fabiani right now, but not a challenge he can't get past, because Blakely is also one of our autocross competitors, always very competitive. Always one of the top times out on our autocross course. He's got that beautiful green Tesla Model 3, and he loves to go out there and slay on the autocross course. So I know he's always up for a good challenge, and, you know, that's the thing with sprint racing. You got 20 minutes to figure it out, and, you know, he's an engineer. He works over at Ampere EV Garage, doing all the custom electric conversions. So I know he's down for a challenge.
Oh, so he's part of that deal that was working on the DeLorean. The DeLorean
yes.
that time. Okay,
yeah, that was one of his projects. That's actually why we got to have it as the pace car. So, and his one of his bosses also races with us as well. His other boss, I think, was one of the autocross guys. So the Ampere EV guys very much are big supporters of AMP. Can't give those guys enough love. They've got, you know, 4 garages here at AMP. They've got their headquarters in downtown Dawsonville. They were about as invested in this place as you can get. And they even have a condo over in the condo stretch.
Well, he's starting to pull away now from Bill Miller. Keith Williamson, by the time that we get to the end of this, which we've got about 12 more minutes left, Williamson may start to get a little pressure from Fabiani. We still see the rear end of that car, though, sliding around a little bit. Makes you wonder about that. What was the part that you talked to him about that was actually broken, front or rear?
It was in the front. It was one of his connecting links. It was where it's welded to the car. It had broken off from prior contact, and he just welded it back on, and he found that it was loose, so he wasn't getting as much support up in the front. I'm not specifically sure what the exact part was that broke. We were in the garage last night. He looked up and saw it. Was like, oh, crap.
You know, Blake is one of those drivers, I don't know, a couple of months back, he had a problem with the engine, and he noticed it at like 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So he worked all night long to get that engine ready to go. He has had some of those issues that have taken him right up to the point of race time almost to get the car ready to roll.
And right now it looks like he's doing a pretty good job of catching back up to Keith Williamson. I wonder if Williamson is just being nice and laying off the pace a little bit.
I don't think that's the case.
But both drivers, look at that, all 3 drivers running their fastest laps of the race that last time by. Keith Williamson with a 137.3, Blakely Fabiani with a 136.6. So almost a full second, looks about 0.7 of a second faster that last time by. And y'all can see for yourselves on the screen right now, that gap is slowly getting clamped down right now. So I'm not sure if that's Keith being a nice guy, or if that's Blakely just driving the wheels off that Miata right now.
That may be why he looks so loose out there. He's just attacking this course, and in the meantime, closing in on Keith Williamson. And I will tell you this, from the looks on the screen, you do not see the actual speed that we can see here in our live shot when we're looking out at the race course. These cars are going very fast, so much more than what it looks like on screen.
Look at that.
Wow.
Blakely 2 off there at the exit of turn 11. Wow, doing everything he can to keep that car under control. Gets it back underway. Man, he was about sideways, his door facing up the hill. He ripped that back and kept underway.
Wrecked, just didn't hit anything, right?
Nope.
So he's working now through turn 13. They come up to 15 right now. He's lost a little ground on Williamson because of that little foray almost out into the grass. Right now he's trying to tighten it up once again. He had a good run going. He got up very close to Williamson in that last lap. He's got a few more minutes to try to do it. We're right at the halfway point of this. 10 minutes in, 10 minutes to go for these drivers as they work through turn 1. Great shot down in that treacherous turn 1.
And that is an awesome shot from our FPV pilot, Daryl Cannon, Killboy.com, out there with that DJI FPV drone. And here's a new camera station we just started using during the 4th of July drift. That's we moved the cowboy cam from out at the water tower over to the exit of turn 3. Kind of a cool shot, seeing them coming up over turn 3 and going through the carousel.
It's a great vegetation shot, for one thing. It gives you the perspective of the drivers going past all of that great vegetation over there in that area.
The engineering team loves it when I set the camera up out there because I always have to go trim the hedges for them because it messes with the autofocus on the camera when you're shooting through all the vegetation.
So we're sort of between the hedges here at Atlanta Motorsports Park.
Yeah. Tradition a lot of Georgia fans are very steeped in.
All right, Williamson, he's still got a pretty commanding lead right now. Can Fabiani close in on him and make anything happen? Looks like Blakely is once again giving it everything he's got coming through that area that was so tough last time around.
Well, that's an area of the track Blakely is normally very fast through, and I almost wonder if that last lap, him getting loose there, kind of shook his confidence because – you know, you do it once, you almost lose it, then you're not going to push it as hard the next time through, and then you're losing time.
Will, here's a situation. We've got Jeremy Durst out there. He's in the open division. He's got the spoiler, the wing on the back. It's an open, it's not a spec car, so you would anticipate he has a little more power, a little more handling capabilities because of all that, yet we see him in the very rear.
He does, and as I was talking to everybody before the race, they saw that he signed up, and they immediately were like, oh crap, Jeremy's racing, I'm going to be third, you know, behind Keith and Jeremy. But talking to him before the race, he actually told me he put the slow engine in today. He's just trying to break it in some more. So he should be off pace a little bit of these guys. With that big wing, it looks like he's more set up for time attack, things like, you know, autocross time attack. But, you know, he's another one of those competitors everybody here knows, and he hits the road. He's very competitive when he races.
Now, are we going to have time attack today as well?
So time attack is actually already done. We ran that in the morning, so we had a little bit of a schedule change today. So coming up in the break after we get through Miatas and Downforce, we're going to have a Tesla Corsa session. So a special Tesla-only run group. So nothing fancy. They're not going to be racing. It won't be wheel-to-wheel. But while we're on break during that race, we'll have some shots of the Teslas out there. So fun tidbit about that is we're one of the only tracks in the world that is actually equipped to handle a all-electric track day. So we recently.
Why is that?
Because most tracks don't want to deal with EVs. They don't want to have electric vehicles purely for the fire and the safety aspect of having EVs. Whoa, look at that. Looks like Bill Miller came around there at the exit of 13. That's going to be a local yellow. Not going to bring out the full course as he is back underway. And, oh, look at that. We caught that on replay. And
just slides it around. Wow.
It looks like he was on the gas a little too soon, and that back end just came around on him. You know, one of the things I was talking to the drivers earlier today, the track is real greasy right now. So if any of you guys were watching our stream last week, we had the big 4th of July drift event. And one of the downsides of that event, if you could call it a downside, is they put a lot of rubber on the track. So some of the guys like it, most of the guys don't. If you're in a street car on street tires, it's not bad, but when you hop in a race car with racing slicks, the difference in compounds actually affects you because all those drift tires are setting down slicker rubber into the surface, and they're putting a coat of rubber on there, so when these race slicks go over the top of them, it actually makes the track greasier for them. And it'll be this way for the next month or two until we get enough laps on track to kind of scrub that stuff off. And so that's some of the feedback we were hearing from the drivers this morning. It's always a toss-up after the 4th of July event.
You know, Will, having come from the NASCAR world, We used to have that situation. We'd have an ARCA race on Saturday and the NASCAR Cup race on Sunday. And the ARCA drivers were driving on Hoosier tires, whereas the NASCAR drivers were on Goodyear tires. And the drivers would tell me it takes about 30 or 40 laps before that rubber starts to feel comfortable, that it's the different compound, the different compounds of those two different manufacturers of tires really creates a problem for the second group that's out.
Yes, it does. And that's the exact same thing that's going on here today. And you can just imagine during a drift event, these guys are purposely laying rubber down on track, shredding their tires. And, we had close to 120 drivers out here, and they were all doing multiple runs each. They pretty much start from turn 3 and go all the way through the exit of turn 6. And next time we get a good drone shot out there, you can really see the black spots on track. So look at where he's at now and look at how dark the track is going into 6, because that's part of the drift line. And pretty much where they're at right now is where the line started, and they would start drifting, and they'd go all the way through. You could see all those deep, dark black spots on there. That's all from the drifters.
So that, as you mentioned earlier, that may be why we still see people like Bill Miller spinning out, Blake Fabiani getting some fishtailing going on. It may still be from those rubber compounds not equalizing yet.
These are 4 very regular customers we have racing on track right now, so they know the place very well. They know the track. They know their cars. So that's probably a big factor right now, is that extra rubber on track.
Well, unless Keith Williamson messes up somewhere, Fabiani's not been able to close in the last few laps. We've only got 5 minutes left. Yeah, he's all over the place.
He just got loose there, too. I think he's trying to drive the wheels off this right now to catch back up.
Well, now this is only the pre-final. We still have a final coming up later, so there's opportunities yet to still. Even though we're in a podium finish, he's still got an opportunity to maybe claim the top spot.
And this is still a points race. We do a race 1 and a race 2, so the finishing order here does count towards points towards the season final. So unlike how we do it at kart track, where it's just the final race is your points race, both races here at main track count as points race this season.
Today is a big day here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. There's a very special social coming up tonight. Explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've got our big Drive Passions event coming on. A big shout out to those guys for bringing out the stage and bringing out a band. We got told a few weeks ago, hey, we're going to have a concert in the South Paddock on race day. You guys down? And I said, sure, why not? Let's add it. And so it's a big event they're doing. It's a drive day, and they're trying to have multiples of these. So this is actually the first one that they're hosting, the Drive Passions guys. And it's basically entails it's a, you meet up at AMP, you have a nice breakfast, everybody hops in their cars, and they go on a mountain run somewhere, pick a winery, some destination up in the mountains, have a meal, a couple drinks, hit the road, come back, and then have a big social party. So they'll be here for the that caravan should be getting here. Look at that. Fabiani's still getting loose. But they've got about 80 people participating in that, and so they'll be making their way back to AMP here at some point between this race and the next race. So we should see that South Paddock fill up with a bunch of nice exotic cars all on that Drive Passions event. And so once we get the nighttime portion of that going, it's going to be, you can see the stage there off to the side. We got a full band coming in. We have our social. We'll be doing some bracket-style drag racing. The autocross course will be open up to members. And then, of course, we'll also be having just regular member lapping. But, part of the benefits of being a member here at Atlanta Motorsports Park is we host these events monthly. And it's always a fun time to come out, network, drive your cars, and just, enjoy the motorsports lifestyle.
We also saw that shot we had just a moment ago, the new pavilion. I don't know what you're calling it, but that new area that's an offshoot from our tower here that's it's amazing how much work that they have put into that and how closely that has gotten to completion.
Yeah, the running name for it right now, at least just what I'm calling it, is the AMP Sky Deck. Now, whether that sticks or not, we're calling it the VIP deck. I think Sky Deck's a little more, makes it sound more fun, more extreme. But it's going to be a VIP deck for members to go hang out. And, and I don't tell the contractor this, but, I walked all the way out to the edge. It's awesome. The view out there, the second they put rails up and they poured that floor, you stick your head over that rail, the cars are passing underneath you on track.
Wow.
And I can't wait for that to be finished because they obviously won't let us out there when cars are on track. But I cannot wait to get out there once that thing is finished and just get to experience the cars that close. And it'll be something new for members, new for spectators, a really good feature here at Atlanta Motorsports Park.
Now, is that going to be open to everybody at any point in time except when the cars are actually on the track?
It'll be open throughout the day. Obviously we'll be using it more for like member events and things like that. Put a band up there. have socials that are kind of catered around it. But days like today, it'll just be open for spectating. People go out there, watch the races. There'll be furniture, a lounge,
Great
a
shot.
little fire pit. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, that's going to be an outstanding thing to see whenever it's completed. And again, since we were here last time, what a lot of progress has been made on that. Fabiani is now trailing Williamson by more than he has for a while, and our time is
we're down to the last minute, so I didn't see the white flag come out, so I'm not sure if this should be our white flag lap. Yep, there it is.
One more time around.
So next time by should be the checkered flag now that white flag's out.
And Williamson, all he's got to do is take that 64 car and just keep his line going, and he has got this race in control. Fabiani trying to chase him down, but Blake, man, he has just got a loose condition in that car. He just can't seem to catch up to Keith.
Hopefully he can put that thing on the lift, although there's not a huge break in the schedule. Hopefully he can get that on the lift and see if there's any adjustments that can be made. One of the downsides of us condensing the schedule today is he's only got about an hour break between the end of this race and the start of his next race.
Wow.
The old schedule, there used to be a little bit more time between practice qualifying, race 1 and race 2, but to help the drivers out, we tried to condense them down so there's not too much of a break between things.
Now, Downforce cars will be coming out right after this. I assume they're already at grid. Is that true?
Yes, yeah. Downforce cars, if you can hear me, you should be on grid. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching at home, we've got a treat coming up for you. This Downforce grid, we've got 17 cars registered today. Officially our largest Downforce grid ever.
And what I'm excited about is we got 4 Pradas in there. It looks like the Pradas are getting more and more each time, and hopefully we'll have a complete Prada grid at some point.
Yes, and we are shooting to do that. Unfortunately, we had 4 signed up, but one of them had some mechanical troubles, so he has actually switched out to his Radical SR10. So still very similar power to weight of the Pragas, but obviously it's a Radical and not a Praga. But we still have those 3 other Pragas on grid today, and so those will be fun to watch. And right now we're watching Keith Williamson take the double checkered flag as he makes his way across the start-finish line. Blakely Fabiani is your second-place driver. And right now we're waiting to see if Jeremy Durst or Bill Miller, who can make it out first, although with Jeremy not being in class, he will be first all by himself in the open division, which will leave Bill Miller in third overall for Spec Miata.
Now, we've never seen an open, really, division as such. Will he go ahead and do a podium finish and everything for his division?
No, unfortunately, you got to have at least 4 drivers for us to have a podium for you. So right now, unless, there's really not much, we can tell him congratulations. He's just out there running for fun. But we have done an open class before in the Miatas, and that actually caused a little bit of an issue a couple seasons ago because we started clamping down on tech, and that drove away some of the drivers because they didn't, they couldn't run their cheater engines anymore, so they just, they left the series, and we told them, hey, you can run, we'll put you in open, but you're not going to be called Spec Miata. Yeah. And so that was when we went from about 20, 25 car grids down to, we've been hanging tight at about 8 to 10. This has obviously been our smallest grid of the season here today, but with the weather forecast showing rain all week, I don't blame some of the guys because I know Matt Sailors, he's been driving with us all season. He was coming from Alabama, probably didn't want to risk it. And
where's Jose?
Jose, another guy we're missing. I don't know. I didn't talk to him to find out where he was at. Jose not here, Matt White not here, and there's the grid right now for autocross. The autocross not suffering from participation right now. We got over 40 drivers signed up for that today.
Now, how far do they come? Most of these Metro Atlanta drivers?
A lot of these guys are in the surrounding area. The guys participating in the Tesla Corsa event today, a lot of those guys drove from.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear how those cars are going to be on track. I don't know what we'll hear.
You're not going to hear much.
Yeah. The sound of air swooshing by, right?
It sound like my cats running around at night, just without the footprints or the footsteps.
Now, the Pragas, we're going to see them. They're mostly black cars. We might have a few of our
There's one
SR1s.
Of them right there.
Yeah, there's a Praga.
And
cool-looking cars.
Yeah, those things are quite remarkable vehicles.
Enclosed cockpits, whereas the Radical cars are open cockpit. And does that make a difference in aerodynamics? Does it make a difference in the driver comfort? What's the issue with those?
Yes, it does. And I've actually got our friend Pete Mansalillo here with us, and he can explain a little bit more some of the dynamics that we're working with.
Well, closed cockpit cars are certainly more aerodynamic. You're really going to get say more top end out of that. On a track like this, I don't know what the aerodynamic effect is going to be or how great it will be over the open cockpit cars, but it's certainly a difference.
Well, Pete, it's good to have you up here. We were seeing you in and out a little bit before. I know you're involved in the other things, the autocross, other things going on here at AMP today as well. You got several participants here with you today.
Oh yeah, we're doing what we call a project Cheap Thrills. We built a Camaro up, Camaro SS, and probably you think we're into a little over $1,600 into the thing right now.
Wow.
And, today's a test day. We'll be taking it on track for Track Attack the next week.
Are you how does this work? Have you got people that you commission, or that they commission you to come up here and be able to drive this car? How does this deal work with you?
It's a simple trade, labor for seat time.
I see.
You help me work on it, you get in it, and you're driving. And
okay.
Ryan, one of the young drivers, AMP member, he was faster than me in the car, the Miata last month. So it's great having him behind the seat.
So how does the Camaro feel different than the Miata?
Oh, quite a bit difference. About 300 more horsepower.
And
right
a larger wheelbase too.
Yeah, it's quite. And just pushing on this track today, but
yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Now, Time Attack's going to be fun in that.
It's going to be really fun.
Yeah,
and that's what we're looking forward to. But since it was all the issues we had getting it back on the road, we wanted to autocross it first to see if it's worthy.
Gotcha. So if somebody wants to trade you some labor for seat time, how do they get in touch with you?
At Muscle Car Junior, musclecarjunior.com, and give us a call, and I'll put you to work.
Well, what physical area are you in around Atlanta?
We're in Alpharetta, Georgia.
Alpharetta.
Yep.
Okay.
We're right off Georgia 400, and we deal with muscle cars, sports cars. I got a couple of Porsche 911 Outlaw cars in there right now. And
now, are you on the Cumming Road exit, or where? What
we're on
exit?
exit 12, McFarland.
McFarland Road. Okay.
Yep, McFarland. So, boy, what a nice grid for a chain. That's huge.
Yeah,
huh?
isn't it great to see all those cars out here, the Radicals and the Pragas all together out there? It's really nice to see all those cars here. We've got a mix, it looks like. Pragas are kind of mixed in with our Radical cars due to their qualifying efforts. The two cars up front, those are Pragas.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about what we mentioned before, open cockpit versus closed cockpit, basically. What about horsepower and all the specifics that I'm not aware of?
The Pragas, I remember the last time we spoke when they first showed up at the track, I believe they have a lot more horsepower. I don't know what the power to weight ratio is compared to the Radicals, but I believe they're almost twice the horsepower.
What about the weight? Are they lighter weight, being that they're all carbon fiber?
You got me.
I think they are, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was one of the things when Ben Collins was here. He was telling us about the fact that those are carbon fiber cars pretty much throughout, and that does affect that weight tremendously.
Yeah, they should have been a lot faster than they were in that first race, and I think we're seeing the speed today with the qualifying efforts right now. That's a huge grid. I'm excited to see this race.
We got one silver one back there, looks like. That is a Praga car also. You see that closed cockpit there at the rear of the field. It could be that car is, it looks not gridded with the rest of them, so it may be in a different class due to extra horsepower or due to some kind of something they're trying out in that car.
I don't know. This is like a fun field.
Yeah, a great field of cars. Biggest Radical or biggest Downforce class that I've seen here. And as usual, most all of our cars that are Radicals are all white, so we may have a difficult time figuring out who's who. We'll look at the race monitor that's on the side of the screen to be able to tell you that when they start crossing those scoring loops. Meanwhile, let's give you a little bit of an idea of who we've got out there. Shane Anderson in the 00 and Jack Rambo. Both of those are in Praga cars. Now, help me with Peter's last name.
You got me. Bugzinski.
Bugzinski, we're going to go with, okay?
Sorry, Pete, if we said it wrong.
We'll do our best.
The 999 is Elliot Alexander.
Yeah, Pete Folger in the 49. We've seen Pete many times, and William Layton in the 076.
Wow, Raiden Nickel is starting 7th. That's quite a shock for me.
Yeah, Raiden is normally right up there at the front. I talked to Raiden just a moment. We exchanged pleasantries in the garage area, but we'll see Raiden. He's got that little green spoiler or little area on the back of his spoiler on the car, so we can pick Raiden out as he goes through in the 93.
In 8th place, we got 96 is David Patterson, followed by Patrick Rawl.
Ben Thorne is in the 99. And I'll have to go to my race Seaver on my phone to get the rest of the grid. I don't have all of that listed right now, so we'll find out who else we got out there. So we got the Praga cars out front. We mentioned Jack Rambo, Shane Anderson, and Peter Bukzinski. And then, of course, our other drivers are included. Raiden Nickel is in the 93. Chris Hune in the 53. Now, Chris was the winner last time we were here. Great day for him. He really enjoyed getting that win. His first time in a long time that he had been to victory lane. And David Mason is in the 48 car. Greg Folger in the 29. David Patterson in the 96. Pete Folger in the 49. Hank Pate is in the 295. Patrick Paul in the 98. William Layton in the 76. Reed Paul in the 83. And Elliot Alexander in the 999. So that's what we got going right now. A great field. Will is back with us right now. And Will, just a huge field of radical cars.
Yeah, this is our largest field ever of Downforce cars. So should be 17 of them pre-registered. Not sure how many of them actually made it to the race. So we'll have to count real quick.
Where have all these been over the last few months? Is it just everybody kind of got here on this one day?
Yeah, we've just been growing the series. The Pragas was a big addition this year. That added another 3-4 drivers. And then the race series itself has been growing. And speaking of the race series, I got Tyler Edwards just joining us up here in the booth. He's the man that's been building this grid. He is probably 90% of the reason why this has gotten as big as it has, but looks like we got a little trouble on the front straightaway right now.
Oh, now, Tyler, that is a car that looks different than all the other Pragas. We have seen it at the rear of the field. What's the situation with that particular car? It's a silver one compared to the others that are all black.
Looks like.
Yeah, thank you for the kind introduction. It's good to be here. Good to see such a big field of cars. So the Praga is built in Prague, over in the Czech Republic. They're really more of LMP3 style prototype cars. They have a lot more power, a lot more downforce. It's essentially like a formula car with fenders. So they're very quick. Not really sure what's going on with that car over there, and coming out of 16, hopefully, he can get that fire and we can go racing here quickly.
Now, the Pragas, you mentioned the horsepower is a little more. What is it in comparison to the Radical cars?
Well, you can dial down the power, up the power, but most of them are going to have roughly around 400 horsepower.
Wow. And
the Radical SR1 has 180 horsepower. The Radical SR3 has 200 horsepower. And that's really what's bringing up the bulk of this field, are SR1s and SR3s.
Now, when you say they dial down the horsepower, is that done through some type of restrictor plate, or how is that done?
No, you have a dial on the steering wheel where you can dial down the power.
Really? You actually dial it down?
Yep. Same with the Radical SR10 that Shane Anderson is out driving. He has that same feature where every click he can dial it down 25 horsepower.
How does that technically work inside the car? What is changing in that?
It's essentially just a different map where it basically adjusts the power on the fly. It's pretty cool.
Really? So it's an electronic thing.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily restricting fuel or anything of that nature.
It's a turbocharged vehicle, so they can literally map the amount of boost that it's feeding the engine. Yeah.
Wow.
And dial the power down.
Fantastic. Now, Tyler, here's another question for you. Horsepower to weight ratio is a big thing in racing. The weight of the Praga car, is it less than the Radicals or more?
Oh, the power to weight. That's
I'm talking about just the weight.
The weight of the Praga, I know they're definitely under 2,000 pounds. I don't know the exact weight of the Pragas.
What about the Radicals?
Yeah, so the Radical SR1 is going to be 1,000 pounds, and the Radical SR3 is going to be around 1,300 pounds.
So the Praga is going to be more.
Yeah, they're going to be a little bit heavier. I believe they're around 1,500 pounds.
Okay, so now they're carbon fiber.
Yes.
So is the Radical is a
well,
lot of it's
the Praga is a
fiber.
carbon fiber monocoque chassis, whereas the Radicals are a space frame.
Okay, so we've got metal versus carbon fiber.
Correct. Much less on cost.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case, yeah. Carbon fiber is a very expensive thing. So that brings up a good question. If someone wants to get involved in racing in this Radical Praga world, how much are they going to have to spend for a Radical? How much do they plan to spend on a Praga?
Well, I can tell you that a Praga is going to push you back around $250,000 from what I've heard. A Radical SR1 is going to be around $80,000 when it's all said and done, and a Radical SR3 is going to put you roughly around $120,000 to $130,000.
Well, I hate to be graphic here, but holy crap.
Yeah.
$250,000, huh?
Yeah, I believe it's around that.
Wow. There's $250,000 sitting idle right now in the front straightaway.
That's just pocket change, Charles. I'd go shake my couch out and find that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I just hope it's
Will.
nothing. Hope it's nothing severe with that car. But I mean, can we give a big shout out for our safety crews out there? And I mean, trying to keep this show going. Can't thank them enough.
They are the first ones here and the last ones to go home.
Truly first responders, correct?
Yes, they are up here at 6 o'clock every day getting that track blown off and ready for us to go. They are always here late, changing trash, cutting grass. And, well, I'll let you rhyme the rest of that. But they're but they are truly the unsung heroes of this property. They keep everything running. And, you know, and especially this week, because during these summer months when guys go on vacation, you know, you can be a little short-handed at times, and these guys step up to the call. They work late. They get the job done. And as y'all can see right now, they're working to get this Praga towed off track.
Tyler, look at those cars out on the racetrack right now. We see a number of them that have Primal on the side of them because they're part of the Primal Racing School here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. How do folks get involved in that? If they want to just come out and go through the school or rent a car for a race, what's the procedure?
Right. Well, it's easier than you think. We have a full professional racing school. We are accredited by the SCCA. So if you're looking to get into racing, into motorsport, it's a fantastic entry point because the value that it offers coming through a school and learning from professional instructors that have raced and have real race experience to train and get you up to speed much quicker, it just really, really speeds that process up. But we have multiple programs. We have a 1-day racing school, a 3-day racing school, and then we have a 2-day advanced school that you can graduate up to.
So what do you have to go through in order to participate in a race like this?
Right. So ideally, it's mandatory to come through at least our 3-day school if you're looking to try and be out here competing today. Because in that 3-day school, we obviously want to get a relationship with that student, learn how they progress, see how they progress. We're going to do close proximity training, passing drills, race starts and restarts. We're going to make sure they're up to speed enough to where they can come out here and attend one of these race days. And then, obviously, if the student needs a little bit more practice, we offer private rentals. And so I can make sure that I feel comfortable renting one of our cars and making sure they're going to be competitive to a certain level.
When they do that, I know that aviation, for instance, you'll have an instructor in the plane with you in the cockpit. Mm-hmm. Do you have a 2-seater car where you can be along with that driver, or is it all just done through receiver back and forth talking with them from the tower?
That's a great question. So we do have 2-seater SR3s and SR1s. However, the only time we have 2 people in a car is when I give a ride along. So it depends if somebody's brave enough to ride with me around the track. That's the only time we're going to have 2 people in a radical.
Well, I was going to say brave enough or small enough, because
that is true. The SR3.
I don't know if I could fit in a 2-seater. the 1-seater's got plenty of space. That's
right.
For your farm boys. But when you get the 2-seaters, you got to be a little more European to fit in those.
Well, now for those of you that may not know, Tyler's got quite an extensive background in racing, not just here at Atlanta Motorsports Park in these type cars, but you've done dirt track racing, you've done legends racing, you've done asphalt racing of all kinds. Give us your background a little bit while we still got another lap or two to get this thing going.
I started racing when I was 6 years old. Did some karting and quarter midgets as well. My mom she gave the green light. My dad was all for it, and thankfully my mom said, yes, we can do that. And they put a helmet on me, took me to a race, and it was all history from then.
Well, now, was that Lanier at the quarter midget track there?
When I was racing quarter midgets, my home track was over at the Cumming Fairgrounds, not too far from here.
Yeah.
But we traveled all over. It was me and my dad. Like when most people start racing at a young age, it's mostly family, and it's really family-oriented. Just like we look across and we can see the kart track just over there, it's a lot of the same thing. Kids starting really young, and they're out there with their dad and mom and, you know, trying to make a dream become a reality one day to maybe become a professional driver.
So how long was it that you were in quarter midgets before you graduated to full body cars?
So in karting, when I did that, and also quarter midgets, that was 6 years old to 12 years old.
Okay. And then what was your first real race car? Was it a dirt car, asphalt car, road course car? What was it?
Yeah, so when I was 13 is when I got into a legend car. And then when I was 14 was the first time I really stepped into a late model.
Now, the Legends car, people that may not know that there are various kinds of Legends cars. There's 37 Chevrolets, basically, the body style, the coupes and the sedans. There were 40 Fords, which were the coupe kind. Which one was your car?
I had a 34 coupe.
34 coupe. Okay.
Or
that's
was it
cool.
was it the 32 coupe? It was the coupe. I know that. It's been a long time ago. That was over a decade ago. So
Been
you're,
a while,
you're asking
huh?
a lot for me to look back that far.
Well, I know that guys love those Legends cars, and they have been
They're really
a
fun.
strong proponent of things in the racing world. Great way to get started. I know for you, again, we talk about horsepower to weight ratio. Drivers tell me that is the closest thing to a late model car that you can be in with horsepower to weight ratio
Yep.
is a Legends car.
Yeah.
Today's car is off,
Oh,
guys. So
thank you,
Will, Oh,
we
for
are
boy.
track of those.
about to go racing, folks. Look at this, gridded up. I'm standing up. I'm not
Wow.
watching this one on the screen.
What a fantastic
Here they
group to start.
go. Side by side, 17 cars. Biggest downforce grid in history, taking the green flag. Look at
Raiden.
that.
Look at Raiden go. He is out front right
And
now. He
he
is
is
separating himself from the field. Look at him,
Darting
side by
out to
side.
the front, and everybody through clean, what we like to see. And you can see those Pragas and that SR10 just rocketing to the front with that exceptional power to weight over the rest of the field.
Well, Raiden is showing his maturity, even though he's a youngster, showing his maturity in racing as he comes down the hill into turn number 6. Raiden Nichols got to be one of your pride and joys in this thing, Tyler.
Yeah, Raiden's a great kid. He's very mature for his age. He's got a lot of speed in him, and I hope he can get an opportunity.
Yeah, we've been working with him and watching his progression over the last few years, and he is just coming on strong. We got an unusual looking Praga in the back there, a white one, and I haven't seen that white one before, so that's one that's new here to me today, at least anyway.
And we've also got some special drivers we need to give a shout out to. I know Tyler knows a little bit more, but we got a couple of guest racers right now in the Downforce division racing SR1s. Tyler had the pleasure of getting to work with them earlier this week. Why don't you go ahead and tell us more about who we got racing?
Yeah, so if you look at your timing charts, we got Mr. David Patterson and Ben Thorne in 8th and 9th. That's David, that dude in blue, YouTube. And we have Ben Thorne from Gears and Gasoline competing. They're both in Radical SR1s. They've obviously come out and raced, and I've worked with them. They've been doing a great job. For both of them, this is their very first Downforce race ever. For
Really?
Ben in Gears and Gasoline, he's done some racing in grid life. He's had that experience. But with David, this is his first ever wheel-to-wheel race.
Well, we just saw some side-by-side action going as they went up toward turn 4. They did get separated there. We got more side-by-side coming down the hill.
Making
Wow.
the pass
That
to the
is
carousel.
Chris Hune making a pass around the outside on Shane Anderson. What a move.
He said,
You know,
"Out of
Chris
my
Hune.
way."
Chris Hune has come on strong here in the last few months. I've really seen a lot of maturity out of him on the track. Very excited he got that win last time we were here, and Hune putting it down today.
Yeah, Chris Hune, always fun to watch him and Pearson going back and forth. That's really been the battle in the SR3s this season. You know, Raiden Nichols has really been just out by himself in the SR1, so it's always fun to watch Chris Hune, Nicholas Pearson mixing it up with the Pragas, with the SR10, because those are probably our two strongest.
Ooh, wow.
And look at that, getting a little close there, coming through turns 12 and 13. And look, still side by side, making the pass on the inside again.
Man, they're coming up to a treacherous area when they come up to 16. And Tyler, walk us through turn 16 right at that point, how difficult that is.
16 is a tough corner. You're actually coming up over a hill, and it's flat. You're full throttle through that section. There's some undulations. You want to be extremely smooth your inputs because you do not want to have a bobble of any kind through that section.
Yeah, if you
And-
bobble there, you wind up in the tire barrier.
It can happen.
And Chris Hune picking up 4 positions that last lap,
Wow.
going from 5th to 2nd.
Chris is really moving, and I can let you know and everybody else, we just put a new bullet in his motor this last week. So he's got a fresh motor in that car, and we'll see if he can make any ground on Raiden Nickel.
And
Wow.
he's another one of the members out of that garage, that Ampere EV. He doesn't work for Ampere EV, but he is one of the members in that garage over there. So always a fun group of guys to hang with. Chris actually works over at Horizon Hobbies, so if you into RC cars, he's the guy to go talk with.
I know a lot of guys are into RC cars. That is becoming to be a big thing. And we've got an RC car that you've got a camera mounted on. That turned
Yes.
out to be an interesting thing.
Yeah, we've got. I've
little
got my
truck.
version. I've got my version of truck cam. Our drone pilot Daryl Cannon built his version of truck cam. His is much faster than mine, but he put the same FPV equipment that's in his drone. He put into one of his RC cars. Not going to put it out on track today with this, but something we play with during our kart track race days.
Now, will we have that next Saturday at the kart track?
We potentially, yeah, depends on the weather. We're figuring out how best to use it.
I look forward to that. Of course, anytime that you have a pole cam or a truck cam or anything like that, that has been a sacrificial camera from one of the drones that went down at some point.
Yes. And we're always trying to get the best camera shots, get down low, really show you the elevation change, like this shot right here. So incredible that we have this FPV drone and the ability to get it practically in the back seat of these cars so you can really see the perspective of these drivers.
Well, now, let me ask you this. As a novice in the world of drone world, what does FTV and all of that mean? I keep hearing you throw out these initials.
It's just first-person view. So it's
FPV.
Yeah,
okay.
FPV. Yeah, you're flying it like you're in the plane yourself flying it. Most drones look like the blimp cam. The FPV cam, it's got that high top speed, so you're able to really get down low and follow the cars.
I got you.
There's a really good battle on the track right now where Shane Anderson, Greg Folger, and David Mason. Wow. I did talk to Shane before the race, and he said his tires were pretty shot. So being in an SR10, he should really be pulling away. It seems like he's really struggling on the tires he's got underneath him. Greg Folger and Dave Mason are really pressuring. He's kind of building a little bit of a train here. We actually have David from That Dude in Blue and Ben Thorne kind of coming in with this little party we got.
Yeah, this is starting to shake up to be a 4-car battle right now. Shane Anderson currently holding on to the 5th spot. You got Greg Folger, David Mason, David Patterson right now in this train. And we're going to see how this is as they come past the line and the scores update. And look at that, Nicholas Pearson gaining a spot. Raiden Nickel falling back. Did he drop out? Did we miss him? Did he come off track?
Wow, they must have.
But look at that.
Yep.
Your top 5 all running their fastest laps of the race.
Oh, Raiden is in the pit. So
looks like Raiden Nickel is in the pits. We were not sure what happened. Hopefully it's nothing major.
That brings up a point, Tyler. Let me ask you about this. Raiden is running an SR1. We would anticipate the SR3s and SR10s faster. What's the difference in those?
Really, with the SR1 and the SR3 is going to have a bit more aero. It's a wider and longer wheelbase. It's going to run on slick tires, and the SR1 is going to be just a little bit smaller with that wheelbase. It's going to have a little less power. It's really meant to be a little bit more of an entry level and just be a little more affordable.
Okay. So for Raiden to be out front in an SR1, that's
impressive.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's impressive. To be in front of SR3s and SR1 is always very impressive.
Well, we have Pete Folger and Greg Folger, father-son duo. What's the difference in the cars that they're in?
Right, so Greg is driving in an SR3XX. That's got 200 horsepower, whereas Pete, he is in the SR1, and he's got 180 horsepower. So son's got a little more power, but they are both very competitive. Pete's come and talked to me. He's like, I know Greg's a little faster. He's frustrated about it, because he wants to be faster than his son, but he knows that Greg he's got good pace, and there's a really good battle with Greg Folger and David Mason going to turn 1, and looks like about the closest battle on track right now. They're side by side, going up the hill towards 2, and we'll see what they can do.
Well, right now, Greg's got the advantage in that group as they head up into turn 4. We see Mason and Folger names come up here on a regular basis here at Atlanta Motorsports Park, so they're regulars here.
And look at that spread right now between your 1st through 7th, almost all of them. I guess Chris didn't run this fast lap, but 2nd through 7th, all running their fastest laps of the race that last time by. It's about to read them off to you, but the score screen cleared.
So unfortunately, with Raiden Nickel retiring his car, that's going to promote, funny enough, it looks like we're going to have David Patterson. That Dude in Blue is currently P1 in class in the SR1s, and Ben Thorne chasing him 2nd in class. And that's going to promote Chris Hune as well. Obviously, he's in 1st overall.
And you mentioned David Patterson and Ben Thorne. They're running, not only are they top in their class, but they're running right together right now. So the battle is between the two of them as to who's going to be on the podium finish for that. Once we get to the final, now we're still in the pre-final right now.
That's correct. So they've been doing really well. I'm really excited for their videos to be released on YouTube on their respective channels. It's going to be awesome to just really be promoting this race series and just primal more. I'm very excited.
So right now we are following, looks like the number 29 of Greg Folger and the number 28 of David Mason right now. looks like your closest contest on the track. They are hot on each other's tails, going through the S's into the carousel. And just behind them, you see the number 96 of David Patterson.
Ooh, got a pass.
Trying to catch up, and here we go.
There he goes. What a pass. Come on, can you make it stick?
Oh,
Looks like he did. And that's an
around.
important, that's for the last podium position currently.
Oh, and he's going for the crossover, but no.
Greg kept the momentum up on the high side, so he's able to hang on to that spot. So we put Folger up right now to fifth on the podium, or on the as you see our race monitor on the side. So Greg Folger doing a good job there. Now we start to get another one of those great shots from turn number 3.
Of course, right as we put
Oh, we got a spin.
Oh.
Spin out of 6. We got one of the Pragas that just had a spin.
And he moved off to the side. Is that going to be a caution, or is he going to be content to stay there?
We'll see if he can get it rolling.
Yeah, if he doesn't get it rolling, that's going to have to get recovered. He's not far enough off the track.
Gotcha. Who makes that determination? You as a race director?
A race control does.
Race control, not race director. Okay, difference.
And I have actually, I've not been demoted, but we actually have a new motorsports director up here with us.
Ah.
So he is the one actually calling penalties and calling the race as he sees it. So that's Sean Hayes. We'll be introducing him more. This is actually, he was with me last month getting acclimated, and we kind of gave him the reins this month.
I got you.
To call the series. So that frees me up a little more to be in here in the booth with you guys and, you know, put
So
more.
this is going to be really interesting, guys, because this Praga doesn't look like he's able to get this rolling. So it's going to be interesting to see what we're doing. We're only 10 minutes in, so we still have 10 minutes left.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm seeing, Tyler, is that's good for us is we start to see some color on these cars now.
That's
Everything's
right.
just not white anymore.
I've been pushing all these people. You know, I get to know all of them, really trying to build this community and get people out here in these race series and, you know, pushing them if they buy a car. Hey, man, go get some color on that thing. Make it unique to yourself.
Yeah.
And it's also good for safety. Everybody can see who's who. And
Yep, got a caution out
And
now.
there goes the full course yellow, which means safety car is out, which means we're going to get another race start, Charles, with all these downforce cars out here. I know that's not what they want to hear, but for the viewers and the fans, you get to see them all go barreling into turn 1 again. And at this point in the race, 11 minutes in, you know, by the time they get this recovered and sorted, it's going to be a 5-minute shootout.
Yeah, we got safety crews on the track once again, so we'll be bringing them out to recover that car that's off of turn 6. So we'll take care of that in just a moment, and it'll take several minutes for that to occur. As you see them out on track again, they're getting some busy duty here during this race today.
Yes, they are.
Already twice they've been out in this downforce race. So now, will we red flag the cars, or will they continue to circulate under very slow caution?
No, they'll stay out there.
Okay, so they'll continue
Yeah.
to work their way around. There's plenty of room. It's not like the track is blocked coming off turn 6. I believe they're going to have plenty of room there for them to come through. Rachel Heiler is in the pace car. You see her coming into the shot right there in that BMW Primal car. How did you rate getting a Primal on the side of that car?
well, we got some stickers out and stuck them on. Called it a day.
That's the way to do it. So now, do you have your own graphics company here on site, or is that something you have to farm out?
We have a printer and we have some colors. So if you see any of our school cars with the blue stripes on them, those are all just some quick designs we put on the cars just to make them, you know, better than just a plain white car.
I got you. Okay.
That looks like the number 729 of Peter Bushinsky, who was the driver that spun out, was able to get back underway, and he's under his own power.
Wow. So he got it rolling, even though
Yep.
we had to race under caution. He was able to get it rolling once again. That's good.
So
I was busy
we're gonna-
talking with Tyler and didn't notice that
Yeah,
on the
we're
screen.
gonna-
Thank you, Will.
We're going to see if he gets – well, I'm curious to see if he's going to stay on track or if he's going to bring it in.
Let's see. He may come to that little short area. I believe he stayed on track, hasn't he?
I believe so. And what's going to be interesting to see here, though, is on this restart, you're going to have your leaders for SR1, David Patterson and Ben Thorne. They're going to be right on top of each other now.
Yeah.
So that gap
Yes.
that was there is now gone. So
Oh,
they are on top of each
The
other.
pressure is on for that first position in SR1.
So this will be a fun shootout to watch here. And with that car getting off, I'm expecting maybe one more pace lap, and we should be back under green.
We're going to see because they're all a little bit separated right now.
Well, they called lights out on the pace car a
Yeah.
moment ago, so I'm thinking we're going to get a restart right now, correct? With that pace car pulling in?
Yeah, looks
Yep.
like
Pace
it.
car's coming in, so
They
they're
need to tighten up this field. Goodness.
That's going to be a fun restart. Let's see how this
We still got
shakes out.
safety crews over there, but I think they can get off.
they're gonna stay there, and then once the field goes, they're
Yeah.
gonna cross in.
They'll be able to do that. There's you see that car coming in, so he did come down pit lane.
Oh, they're just going to do single file on this. That's probably
Wow.
safer for the drivers. And let's see.
A little bit of side-by-side going on in turn 1.
And that mid-pack right there, that is your leaders right now in the SR1. All those white cars battling it out right now as they make their way.
Oh boy, I'm not sure. It looks like Reed Paul for some reason is up in the field, and I don't know why he's up there. He should be. He's not really clocked there, but he's actually in front of the leader in SR1. Looks like David Patterson just made the pass. Now here comes Ben Thorne trying to safely make it through, and there's William Layton with that orange helmet.
Oh, wow.
We got 3 wide into 6.
Whoa.
What a pass that was. Wow.
And
Threaded the needle
it
right
looks
between
like
them.
it looks like Reed Paul is not really spatial awareness.
All right,
Could
we
we
got
say a 2-day advanced school is coming up?
them coming through turn number 9, I believe it is, down there at the bottom of the hill. They work their way back up right now. And, Will, it's great to see just cars all over the racetrack.
Well, this is a class that kind of looked like the way the Miata class did earlier today. This is how the Downforce class start. And now the Downforce class looks like the Miata class used to. And that's, all off the hard work of Tyler and the guys down there at Primal Racing. And to be honest, I love watching Miata racing, but seeing this many radicals on track, man, it gives me goosebumps. It gets me excited. I love seeing racing like this, especially here in the heart of racing. Dawsonville, Georgia.
Yep, can't beat the history in Dawsonville. It's where racing began with the run with moonshine up and down Highway 9 to Atlanta. That's sort of where racing got started, and you notice that when you come through town and see all the names of the streets.
And look at that. I can't see the number on that car shooting through that mid-pack right there. Just past 2 cars coming from turn 1 to turn 6 in the middle of the carousel right now. Although not what we're seeing on our screen right now.
So here they come down into turn number 6. Those drivers, there you see them making, there's the shot in turn 6 as those drivers make their way through. There's a lot of side-by-side stuff, more than I've seen here in this Downforce race in a long, long time.
It is shaking up hard right now, and there is action all over the track. The mid-pack, the front pack, the back pack, everybody's getting it in right now.
And being that we only have a scoring stripe right at start-finish, there's so many changes that happen in this lineup as they work around. Look at David Mason now, already up to 3rd in the 28, so he has moved forward and separated himself from Greg Folger. The Shane Anderson car sits between the two of them right now.
Yeah, and Shane is kind of the cream in the Oreo, or whatever you want to call it. He's the meat in the sandwich between those two SR3s. And behind Greg Folger right now, you've got the battle for the SR1 title, and that's between David Patterson and William Layton. Layton making the pass on Ben Thorne during that last restart. So right now, Patterson and Layton fighting it out for that top spot in SR1 Radical.
I would say William Layton was definitely the biggest benefactor of that caution flying out because he took advantage on that restart, got around Ben. Ben got caught behind Reed Paul, unfortunately, with him being up in the field like that, and that definitely put him in a bad situation.
And this will be interesting for David Patterson. First race here, has a lot of racing experience, but right now he's got one of our most seasoned SR1 drivers hot on his tail right now. William Layton raced all of last season with us, raced again this season. So he's got a lot of seat time in these radicals, a lot of practice on this track. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, David's been very quick. He has no racing experience. He's been basically driving a lot of cars on his YouTube channel, but this is his first wheel-to-wheel race.
Wow.
He's had 5 days in the car with me.
Oh,
Really? Wow, man, that's tremendous. Shane Anderson is our first Praga car. And you mentioned that dialing back the horsepower, and so why would you ever want to do that?
Well, sometimes at a track like AMP, power is not everything. This track is going to be all about mostly mechanical grip, not so much aero, but when you have so much power, sometimes it's a little unnecessary. Whereas if you have just the right amount, you can really lay into the power a little bit more, where you're not going to be worrying about just spinning up the tires coming out of every corner. And it's easier to manage your tires and manage yourself.
Another factor too is rain. If it's weather conditions, you can dial the power up or down depending on track conditions.
Got you. Now, I assume that we're completely dry all the way around the track. I've not seen any wet spots, so I think that little shower we had earlier has not affected us in any way.
We got a momentary bit of rain. I know a lot of the autocross guys are getting excited because that's all out in the skid pad.
Yeah.
But it didn't last long, and the track was dry before we even got these guys out there. So I know they were happy about that.
There you see turn 6. Turn 6 is sort of a signature turn here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Tyler, take us through that. How is the ideal way, since you're teaching these guys how to do it, what do you teach them going into turn 6?
So turn 6 is one of the toughest corners here at AMP. It's a very deceiving corner. It's got a lot of elevation, so it really starts coming out of turn 5. You're braking going down the hill, and so you're really asking a lot of your front brakes. And then as you turn in, you have steering angle. You're trying to get on power. You get into the hill. You find front grip when you're driving into that hill, so you want to get on the gas very quickly. But as we know, when you have the steering wheel turned and you're getting on the gas and you're cresting a hill, the back end can swing out. So it's a very common corner for people to spin.
So it's also a great passing situation if you're in the right spot. How do you tell someone that's following someone else? Do you go wide? Do you go low? What do you do to try to set up a pass?
There's an art to passing, and whenever you're trying to make a pass, you always want to try and get to their inside. It's the best way, passing on the inside.
And the white flag is out, just in case y'all missed that. So Chris Hune's already about halfway through his white flag lap,
wow.
So we should be seeing him coming by the start finish here soon to take the checkered flag. I didn't see how close Nicholas was on him. We've been kind of following everybody on here, so
there's been a lot going on.
It's going to be interesting to see who is the leader here coming out. I'm pretty sure Chris was still in the lead, but Nicholas running a real fast lap that last time by.
We'll see them crest the hill in a moment as you look at turn 16, the final turn. So they'll be making their way through in just a moment for those drivers that are working their way by. Again, this is the pre-final. We'll be going to a final in 30 minutes or so, or an hour from now, as we get them back on track. Checkered flag
Chris
is out.
Hune.
Let's see who it's going to be. Chris Hune gets the win.
And he was able to put a little bit of a gap there on Nicholas Pearson, so not much in the tank for Nicholas trying to catch up to him, but still a solid finish in second place. And it looks like there's Shane Anderson in that black SR10 will take third place.
And David Mason crossed the line. He takes the final podium spot in the SR3 class. Happy for him. And David Patterson taking the SR1 win.
Yeah, how about that? Patterson gets the SR1 win, and the Praga win goes to Shane Anderson in the 00. Chris Hune got the SR3, and there was an SR10 in there. I believe he did not actually start, did he?
That was Shane Anderson. It says Praga R1, but he actually switched.
Oh, he's in the SR10.
He switched
okay,
over
pardon
to
me.
an SR10.
Got you. Okay, got you.
Yeah, he had mechanical issues during practice qualifying and switched over.
That's pretty awesome when you can say that. Oh, I don't want to drive my Praga, so I'm going to go hop my Radical.
Well, that's part of the issues he's probably having with his tires, because the Praga was supposed to be the one he prepped and got ready for today, and that was his backup car.
Wow.
Not a bad backup car.
Nope.
Well, I've really enjoyed being up here with you guys for this Downforce race.
Right?
I hope to see you guys back up here shortly for our second race. Hopefully it's just as exciting.
Yes.
Whenever we get up here for the second race, I want to ask you what your race day duties are with these drivers. We want to talk a little bit about what you do and how you get them going. So we'll save that for later.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys.
All right, Tyler Edwards has been our guest in the tower. Over the last few weeks and months, Tyler has been up here with us and offers a whole lot more of information than what I've had going into this thing, that's for sure. I'm just learning about these Radical cars and the Downforce cars and the Praga cars, so it's nice to have someone who has a little more information than what I've been able to pull off the internet. So we've got a little bit of a break going on right now. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment as we get the Miatas back out on track. So, Will, what's on schedule?
So we have got our Tesla Corsa time session coming up next. So if you guys can hear me in the paddock, Tesla Corsa, all Tesla drivers, you need to get in your cars and get on grid. Your session is up now. So once we get all these Radicals off track, Tesla Corsa, we need to get you out and on track. We are a little behind on schedule right now, so we need to get you guys out there, and we need to get this session underway.
All right, Will, explain Corsa to me.
So even though it says Tesla Racing in the name, it's actually an HPD event. So like I was saying earlier, I kind of cut off because of the racing action, but the Tesla event it's an HPDE, and the reason we're hosting this is we're actually trying to flesh out actually hosting EV events, because it is kind of, I wouldn't say it's taboo, but it's something a lot of racetracks don't like to do. And, you know, us being a country club, we're trying to embrace the future, and that future is EV racing. It's going to be electric vehicles, and one of the biggest things that prevents EVs from racing is just the critical infrastructure you need to charge. And here at Atlanta Motorsports Park, we are one of the only racetracks in the world to have as many chargers as we do. We've got 10 level 3 DC superchargers. So these are the kind of chargers, you know, people, the common misconception with EVs is, oh, I got to plug it in, it takes all night to charge. Well, not here. With these level 3 DC chargers, we can get these things charged within 20 minutes.
Wow.
You can go from a dead battery to about 80%. And, you know, you leave it on there for another 10, 15, you can have it up at 100%. Or pretty close to it. And so that's one of the cool things with having all these fast chargers is these Teslas, they can go out, burn their entire battery in 15 minutes, go hook up to the charger, be ready to run again in 30 minutes.
Now, these are not available only for race cars. These are available for anyone who has an electric vehicle.
Yeah, if you are on your way to a mountain rental and you got a cabin rental in the mountain and you need to top off before getting there, stop by, see us. The chargers, as long as the gates are open, the chargers are open to the public. You just got to download the Autel app, scan the little QR code, plug it into your car, and you're good to go. You're charging.
And insert the all-important credit card.
Yes, well, that's what the app's for. You load your financial info into the app, scan the QR code, and it gets you going. And, you know, really fun that we're able to get these chargers on site. This is a project we actually just recently finished. We had our launch party about 2 weeks ago. And so this is our first actual event where we're actually putting these things through their paces, putting the cars out there, letting them deplete their batteries, putting them all on the chargers, seeing how they do. And so they've been doing great. And that car out front right now is actually the Unplugged Performance Tesla, and those are the guys sponsoring this event. That is a special track prep Tesla that we actually bought. So AMP owns the car. Unplugged Performance built that for us. It's got a lot of their test parts on there, and it's supposed to be a good tool for, you know, any EV driver to go take a look at it, hop in it, do a couple laps, see the difference between our car and their car, and, you know, hopefully get these Teslas better for the track. Because, you know, one of the things with these cars, while they're a lot of fun to drive, they're real fast, they're not exactly the most track-capable cars. And I'm not trying to just neg on them while we're watching them on screen, but one of the big downsides with EVs is they're heavy. They got batteries. You know, they got that fantastic acceleration, but at the cost of weight, they got to have the batteries to have the juice to get that acceleration. And, you know, a lot of racers know the heavier you are, typically the slower you're going to be around track. And it's kind of an interesting dynamic that you are, you know, the fastest thing on the roads, but probably one of the slowest things in the turns. And so, you know, how do you sling a 5,000-pound EV?
Yeah.
You know, you do it by upgrading everything. You know, you got to get better brakes, better suspension. And so Unplugged Performance has found a lot of these shortcomings of the Teslas, and they actually make parts for your car to make it faster on track, and it's specific for Teslas.
So having been an old gasoline guy, naturally aspirated carburetor kind of guy with my background, do these have 4 servo motors type at each wheel, or do they have one engine? How does it differ from what we consider gasoline type power plants?
I believe the Teslas can have up to 3 motors in them. They'll usually have, if it has dual motors, it'll be, you know, 1 on each axle. If it's got 3 motors, it'll be 1 on the front and 2 on the rear. And then some of them are just rear wheel drive, so it's just 1 motor on the rear axle. And that's part of the packaging when you go to the Tesla, or I guess you go to the website and order your Tesla. You know, you select how many motors you want, how much range you want on the battery, and all that affects everything. So, you know, to have the faster Tesla, you also have to have the bigger battery. So you'll naturally get the extended range, and you get all the other fancy features, but you're also going to pay more for it. The car is going to be heavier, and there's a, you know, there's a real cost benefit to it, although, you know, right now nothing can touch those Model S Plaids. Those things are wicked fast.
But an interesting side note here, if any of you are familiar with Eli Gold, who's the announcer for NASCAR for many, many years, Eli's pet peeve was drivers calling it a motor in their car when it's actually an engine.
Yes.
The only motor in the car is the starter. It's an electric motor. Well, you can truly say when you've got a Tesla that I've got motor. I need more motor in my car because those are electric motors.
Yeah. Well, we always used to I used to work on boats. We always used to make the joke about, you know, a ship has an engine, but it's motoring along.
Yeah, exactly.
because it's a main engine, but you're motoring.
Now, we're seeing part of the autocross down there, and we talked about that earlier when we saw it static without any cars on it. Now we got cars on there.
Yes.
So an interesting course that these drivers are working. That one just finishing up its
That
autocross.
is a white MX-5, probably one of the more preferred vehicles out here. Miatas are one of the best things you can drive in autocross. You know, they don't quite have the power for acceleration that other faster cars do, but they also don't have the weight. So once you're up to speed, you can just throw those things through the turns. And is this a station wagon?
Yeah,
or
it
is
looks
that
like
a
it, doesn't it?
crossover? Is that, did someone let my grandmother out on track? I can't. Did she
started to
find
say,
a way
is,
out there? I can't tell.
Is Collins here with the family car or what?
Not implying that they're driving like a grandmother. I mean, that is a BMW, so that's got to be a pretty fast car. We do see a lot of X3, X4, X5s out there. But
Well, there's not a lot of acceleration points on that car. You got to keep it pretty much in check.
And this was a fun element right here at the bottom of the hill that I designed personally. I love this big 540 decreasing radius into an increasing radius, back into a decreasing radius, really throwing these drivers off as far as what the proper line is through that turn. And so we had a little bit of a field day with the track setup today. We took a lot of the elements from week 1, week 2, and week 3 and just threw it all together, and now we're letting the drivers find out how much fun it is.
Well, now, do you have places on that course marked where you put the cones, or do you just go out there and kind of eye it?
Yeah, so the way we do it is, we eye it when we put it down. I go out there. It's if you have OCD, it's the worst thing in the world to try and put cones down in a paddock. But it also helps make the track nice and clean. And the way we keep track of it is before the track starts, we actually send the whole crew out there and we do a thing called chalking. So they'll pick up every single cone and they'll put an arrow or an X on it. So that way, if someone hits it, they know to put the cone back. So if it's an arrow, it's a directional cone. They know to put it back in place. And if it's an X, they just put the regular standing cone. And if any cone gets hit and has to get replaced, it's a 2-second penalty.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay, so there is a penalty for that.
And as I was talking earlier, you can see some of the drivers coming in now into the South Paddock in the Drive Passions event.
Wow.
So they are making their way back from Montaluce.
What kind of vehicles are we got there?
We've got a little bit of everything. I see that McLaren down there on the end, that blue car. Can't quite see what that purple one is next to it. It might be a Huracan.
We got a shot of it coming up right here. What we got, Jeffrey?
Some closer. I think that's Darrell flying in. We got.
Oh, is that Darrell coming in with that one?
Closer shots here. We got that F1 pace car. Looks like we got a Praga out there. Yep, that's a McLaren. Wow. Huracan. Looks like a GT350. Aston Martin. Oh, we got the.
Now, all of these daily drivers, or many of these trailered in?
I think all these were driven in today because these guys drove them up to the winery for.
Wow.
Yeah, look at those Morgans up back there. I am born in '89, so forgive me if my
those are 3-wheelers. Those are cool. I don't know what that is, but man, I like that.
Those things look sweet.
Boy, Morgan.
Yeah, that's what. Okay, that's what. Yeah, someone was correcting us up here. That is a Morgans. That's what I thought. Looks like a couple of Lotuses. Or no, those are Ferraris right there. I'm really outing myself on brand knowledge right now.
Well, tell me what about a Morgan. I'm familiar with a Slingshot. That's kind of on that same basis as a Slingshot. But what's the deal on the Morgan?
You're going to have to give me a second.
That intrigues me.
Pull up Wikipedia here.
Yeah, find out a little bit about those Morgans. I have an interest in those as long as they're not $250,000.
Now, I have actually gotten to drive a Morgan here on track. It was an Aero 8 that showed up one time. And they are fun. I know the one I drove was actually, basically it's a reskinned BMW. So Morgan makes the car and they get the drivetrain from BMW.
So it's like a kit car, sort of.
Yes, and they are very British. When you sit in them and you're, 250-plus pound guy like me, it feels very British.
So how do you use a BMW when you got a 3-wheel deal going on?
Well, these might not be BMWs, these 3-wheel cars. The Aero 8 that I drove was it was a BMW. I believe it was an M4 powertrain.
We see a vehicle right there. What kind of special vehicle is that?
We're
looking at the forklift out there.
That is an exotic cherry picker. Or the lull, as they call it.
The what?
The lull.
The lull. Okay. We still got Teslas on the track, and
if you ever see that guy going on track, the lull, it's a bad day for somebody.
I would imagine.
You want to use that to fish people out of trees and ditches.
And we've had that before. We've had a car in the trees before.
I have heard the radio call come over. I've heard radio chatter. We need a chainsaw on turn 14, and this was during a sprint race.
Yeah, it was. We had one actually go off track into the trees, believe it or not.
And it looked like it literally looked like a Roadrunner comic when you went out there. Just the line, you literally see the line in the grass going into the trees, and then the perfect row of trees knocked down, and car out of sight.
I did a race at Road Atlanta many, many years ago, a Can-Am race back in the 70s, and there was a cornfield out of one turn, and a driver got loose in the cornfield, and he told me for months after that he was still getting kernels of corn out from his car that had somehow gotten into the lesser-known areas.
Speaking of cornfields, we actually did a race in a cornfield. Little known piece or unknown piece of AMP history. We actually did a corn maze challenge.
Oh, really?
That video never saw the light of day much past the preview because we took all our best footage, made a 30-second preview, and realized we didn't have much left to make the whole video. So we kind of scrapped that after we filmed it. But it was we were trying to do a cross-promotional event with Uncle Shucks. He's the big corn maze in Dawsonville. And we took a C4 Corvette. It was a previous Gambler 500 car. So if you know anything about the Gambler 500 rally, it should let you know what condition the Corvette was in to begin with.
Well, what condition was it in after you went through the ruts of a cornfield?
Actually, it was in better condition because if you know the Gambler 500, the whole point of the Gambler 500 is you take really crappy cars and they just beat the ever-living snot out of them off road. They jump them. It's a big, it's a fun way to trash your car.
Well, how do you have enough clearance to go through a cornfield with rows and clods of dirt and so forth?
So that was the whole part of the fun. Was it was a corn maze, so we actually put we put golden corn, and we had the whole point was we had a map, and we were supposed to solve the maze to find the corn in the cornfield. So we're actually driving through the maze. And this was all out of season, so the corn was yellow.
Sure.
It wasn't green like you see it during the fall, because there's no way they would ever let us do that prior to the season. But we have a deal with them where we'll put a banner up and promote the track. We promote Uncle Shucks, and I just had the wild thought one year to ask him. I said, "Hey, what do you do after the season? Do you mind if we just go drive through the cornfield?" And he was, he said, "Yeah, do it." And so we went out and had a bit of fun with that. I'll need to dig that up, maybe throw that on the next broadcast. But yeah, we had a lot of fun driving through the cornfield.
Wow. So what did you find out about Morgan's? Have you come across any information on that?
Reliving the cornfield challenge. But I'm just watching the grid slowly build up here in the paddock. We're actually having a private concert after the race. So if you guys are listening trackside, all drivers today, y'all are invited to stay and participate in the festivities we got going on. We are tying this in with our Saturday night social. So the event is called Drive Passions, and then all AMP members have been invited as well. So we're co-hosting our Saturday night social with the Drive Passions event. And so that's what's setting up right now. So basically imagine concert, exotic cars, live music. That's kind of the vibe we're going for here. Kind of like a Forza Horizon feel. So it'll be fun. And, the band's going to kick off at 7. So we'll have some driving activities before then as well. So we'll have the social going. We'll keep autocross open for them. Here's a fun car right here. That's the Glickenhaus.
What?
Glickenhaus. I don't know. Somebody needs to correct me on the pronunciation here, but that is a 1 of 5, I believe.
Wow.
And it started life as a Toyota FJ and has been
radically changed.
Radically modified. Wow. And if I'm not mistaken, the whole purpose of this car was to beat the Ford Bronco. When that came out and was competing in the Baja class, I think it was all by itself. And they came out with this car pretty much to beat Ford.
Is that a production car?
Yes, they made enough of them to be considered production so that they can compete against the Bronco.
Wow. Man,
and I think, if the limit was 5 or 6, they made literally exactly how many they needed.
Crazy.
And we've seen that thing out on autocross. That thing is so wild to watch. That is a violent car when it's driving.
Man, look at all those beautiful machines.
So many cool cars. That Cobra replica down there, GT40. Yes, this is quite the event we're having tonight. All these exotic cars out here.
Now, are these people from all over the nation, or is it a local Atlanta club, or what?
There's a lot of them are friends of Bruce and the people that are putting this event on. Since this is the first one, we reached out to a lot of people that we knew personally.
Is this Bruce at Caffeine and Octane?
No, different Bruce.
Different Bruce. Okay,
yes.
Pardon me.
Yeah. So
rewind
one of our members.
Okay,
Bruce.
Gotcha.
So he came in. The Drive Passions is his brainchild. they're putting this whole event together, and that's actually him down there in the white and the white shirt and the shorts. I don't know if you can hear us on the building speakers, but they're it looks like they're doing a little pre-event organization right now. I think all the drivers are just now getting back from the winery.
Man, some of those paint jobs, that purple.
Hey, wave, you're live, Facebook, YouTube. Hey, guys.
I don't think they can hear you. They got their minds on other things, and when you're around that many beautiful cars, I got a feeling your mind is on those.
Yes, sir. And we also have cars on track. There is a little bit of ambient sound out here at the racetrack, although if you wouldn't know it, you stick your head out and you wouldn't know it because these are Teslas. So
right. and no idea a race is going on.
You just hear that's all you hear going by. But it's a very fast whoosh because these Teslas, man, those things, they get up and go in a hurry. And that was what we were testing. That was what we were testing the
How did
the
lap
track
times?
with.
Well, hello there.
Yeah, hey.
Will, you see our backsides?
As we are sitting here. Hi.
What are lap times like? I didn't notice lap times. How do the Teslas compare with Miatas or the Radical cars? Did we notice any of that?
They weren't running transponders, so I wouldn't be able to tell
okay.
you. What I have seen, though, when we've done time attack, we've had Teslas in them, they are on par or quicker.
Really?
What they lose in the turns from being, 4,500-pound cars, they more than gain in the straightaways. And
so how about the acceleration off the corners? Pretty stout.
And what's crazy is if you do not have good racecraft with those cars, they have too much acceleration. So if you are not pointed that car straight and you still got a little bit of turn left, that back end's going to come out on you. And that was what was happening last night when we were out testing the autocross course because we were in a Tesla Model 3, and that thing did not stay straight because the whole thing with autocross is you're constantly turning, and every time he'd be on that gas, pre-exit on the turn, and that thing was just spinning. It was hard to keep that thing under control if you're trying to do a fast lap.
So there's virtually no engine noise when you're sitting in the car. Might be a whir of electric motors or whatever, but what do you hear? I mean, is it extremely quiet? Do you hear the sound of the wind rushing, or what do you hear inside a Tesla?
Usually you hear your own thoughts, and it's like, why did I do this? Why am I riding in the passenger seat? This is crazy. These things are so awesome. And then you get a big smile on your face. You're like, this is great. Oh, God, don't hit that wall. It's hard to describe, and until you get in one of the cars, like the instant torque, that's what it is with these cars. I mean, it is torque on demand. They press the pedal down, and you have full power instantly. There is no building up revs. There's no waiting for turbo lag. There's no anything. It's you want to go, you put your foot down, and less than a millisecond later, you're already going.
So and I haven't seen this, but are we doing drag racing now with electric cars? Has that started?
I'm sure they're officially doing drag racing at some of the drag strips. I'm sure they have some of the same concerns that we do in terms of, just battery fires and stuff like that. Anytime you're pushing an electric vehicle to its limits, that's a common concern with them. But we'll be doing it later tonight because we've got our Drive Passions event, and one of the activities we're doing is drag racing. So I know you've got an event. I think you're at Toccoa tonight, so you won't be around to see it.
9 divisions of hot racing action on
that
dirt
sounds like
tonight.
A lot of fun. Yeah, I saw your post coming out of retirement, going back to the dirt track.
Yeah,
Charles.
I put on there, I've excelled at a lot of things in life. One of the things I have failed miserably at is retirement. Can't seem to pull that off.
It's hard to quit racing, let me tell you. Once you get started in it, you're in it for life.
Yeah, and even though I'm not at tracks every weekend for the last 50 years like I have been, I'm still following all the I watch all the videos. I make sure when I have guests on the radio show that I've seen their race they were at, regardless of whether I was there in person or not. But it's great to still be involved with AMP. I'm still a full-time person here as far as being on the air.
We appreciate having you here, and definitely adds a level of professionalism that I myself couldn't do on my own. And been fun.
It's just years of screwing up in order to try to get it sort of right. That's the way I look at it.
Well, I know I think we're entering our 4th year us working together
so,
up here.
yeah,
It's been a few seasons now, and it's been fun. I've learned a lot working with you. We've also made a lot of friends and connections. I mean, we've got John up here a bunch. He's another person.
Yeah, John Matthews. He'll be in action tonight at Sonoya Speedway, so you can hear his voice there this weekend.
We really tried hard to get top talent here over at Atlanta Motorsports Park.
Well, it's just we were the only people available. I think.
Well,
that's what
you're the ones that returned my calls, so. When Doug Turnbull says, "Nope, sorry, can't make it," call Charles. That's what you do.
Well, Doug's a good friend, and we've been on the same team for a lot of years, doing a lot of things together.
Yeah, because that's actually how I got your contact info. I asked my boss. I said, "You know any announcers?" He said, "Give Doug a call," and gave me Doug's number, and then Doug turned me on to you, and rest has been history out here.
Well, we are set to get going. Here's some of the amenities here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Not many racetracks that I go to that have a putting green and a pool. That's a
or a wakeboarding boat.
Yeah, or a wakeboarding boat that
I'd
you
love
see
to see
there.
that thing in the pool.
Or exotic cars, as you see in the background. That is sort of actually no racetrack that I go to has this except for this one.
You know, you could put that in the pool and it'd be like the Miami F1. You know, like it actually would be better than their marina experience because that was a fake pool that they put all those boats in front of. But yeah, I think they're coming in for a future event. I think they're sponsoring one of our Saturday Night Socials. I forget the name of the company. Yeah, there's a boat company who's coming in.
And how are they going to showcase their machines?
Much like
here?
We're seeing now, they're just going to pull them in on trailers.
You know, some tracks have boat races. Have you seen one of those boat races?
I've seen the ones where they're in the little tiny canals.
No. I'm talking about racetracks. They'll put a boat.
Waterless boat race. Yes,
waterless
I know what
boat
you're talking
race.
about.
Yeah, they are interesting for the fans anyway. Sometimes they'll have a camper race. They'll put a camper on the back of a car and try to see if they can negotiate the track.
All I got to say is if you don't love a good trailer race, you're probably not American.
That's right.
I can't think of the most American thing you could possibly do other than hitch a trailer to a car and go on a racetrack.
Unless you got somebody sitting in an open cockpit with a AK-47. Now, that might be more American.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you were here on the 4th of July, you would have seen a hearty collection of red-blooded Americans out here fully enjoying themselves. This place, man, I can't tell you, 4th of July is one of our busiest days of the year. This place was absolutely alive. We had over 100 drifters on track. Probably well over 1,000 spectators. It was crazy.
When you run a drifting event here, what part of the track do you use most? Is it a shortened version? Do you go through the little whatever we call the jelly bean or the shortcut down there?
So what we do during a drift event, the first couple years we did it, that's how we did it. When they built the track, they actually designated the turns 2 to turn 6 as the drift circuit. And so I'm actually being told real quick, all Spec Miata drivers, if you can hear me, we are 10 minutes to grid. All Spec Miata drivers, if you can hear me trackside, we are 10 minutes to grid.
There you see some of those charging stations you were talking about. That's a few of them right there. Pretty amazing that we've got those super fast chargers here.
So we have got 10 spots for you to be able to charge your EV right now. So we've got 5 of those units. They're double chargers, so you can park one car on either side. And what's really cool how these things work is it's basically a giant capacitor. That whole charger is just filled up with batteries, much like the batteries in the Tesla, and that's how they're able to just build up a charge and then just dump it into the Tesla.
Wow!
So it's pretty cool how those things work, and you know, I wanted to say it's about 40 cents a minute to charge on those. So they're not cheap, but it's actually cheaper than paying 4 cents a minute and taking 8 hours to charge.
Yeah, well, I would imagine so. Yeah. Now, when you're talking about those Tesla cars in any of the...
And there's one of our normal chargers right there, actually. So we actually, in addition to those 10 level 3 superchargers, we actually have another 7 level 2 chargers on property. So we got 2 of them back at Kart Track, and we've got another 4 or 5 of them dispersed around the main building up here. So AMP is really one of the it is the first EV-friendly track in North America, and we will proudly say that because no other track has committed to the infrastructure like we have.
That's an amazing thing, amazing statistic right there. I know that there was a lot of controversy when electric cars started out with fires and with fire departments not having the proper equipment to deal with that type of fire. So what have we added here at AMP in order to be able to handle that should a situation like that occur?
So the biggest thing with EVs is there's not really much you can do, Charles, and that's what scares a lot of people away about it. But what we have done is we actually have our EV response policy, and we've actually got plans in place to how you deal with it. And it's actually pretty simple the way, if you can get to it and hook it, drag it into the sand pit and then let it finish burning. Because you can dump sand on it.
You don't want to burn the asphalt.
You can put water on it. You can put a blanket over it. But you can't snuff the fires out because it's a self-oxidizing material in the battery. So once it's on fire, it's going to stay on fire because it has its own source of oxygen.
Wow.
So, most chemical fires, the common thing is to just smother it.
Sure.
Get rid of the oxygen so that way, the fire goes out. But with the EVs, you can't do it.
So what makes it self-oxidizing?
It's just, one of the metals that's in the batteries, what they use is just got an oxide in it. That's,
Really?
Yeah, it's got, when it catches on fire, it turns into oxygen.
Wow, that is unfortunate, I guess
Yeah.
you'd say.
Because I was, it's been crazy. I've learned a lot about these things over the past couple weeks since getting these chargers put in. And, there's things you can do to help. I mean, there's responses where they literally will have a bucket of sand. They'll just be sitting trackside with a front loader full of sand and just dump on the car.
Wow.
But it'll still burn under the sand. Like, the whole point is, you'll basically create glass doing that. But the point is just to keep it safe for everybody else. You smother it. Some places have dunk tanks.
Yeah.
They literally they have a tank. They just tank of water they put it in. And the water will just sit there and boil.
That is unbelievable.
And it's wild, but we've got several runoffs. We've got several sand areas, and it's something we don't want to have to deal with. No track ever wants that.
Now, are these fires full flame, or is it kind of a smoke type of thing where it's just we talk about alcohol fires with IndyCar racing and that kind of thing. It's a flame you don't see. So what do you see whenever one of these catches on fire? Have you actually viewed that?
Typically, it'll be smoke first. You're not going to see a catastrophic failure. You're not going to see a huge flame just start dumping out immediately. Because usually what happens with batteries is the pack will start to swell. The battery, what leads to the fire is over discharge. You discharge them too fast, the system gets too hot.
Wouldn't racing constitute discharging them too fast?
And the cars are meant to do that for short periods, and that's part of why this Tesla Corsa event exists, because Unplugged Performance, they build all those parts to help you get rid of heat, to help get that heat out of the car. And Teslas are actually really well equipped for that. They actually, the batteries are air conditioned. So that was one of the things that Elon Musk figured out was, if we keep the batteries at a constant temperature 24/7, they'll actually last longer. So even when you're not in your Tesla, it's actually air conditioning those batteries. It's got a little water-cooled system that it passes through the radiator, and will actually keep those batteries at a stable, at a solid temperature.
Two things in my years on this earth that have increased tremendously are batteries and the way that they the new chemicals that they've come out with. They started with the NiCads, and they've gone to other kinds of batteries since then. But batteries and speakers. You hear nowadays what used to be I know at one point Grateful Dead had the largest wall of speakers anywhere to generate the sound. Now you can get that same sound from just very small speakers.
Oh, yeah.
So magnets have come into play in a different way, and that has really helped the sound area and the area of motors for cars. Magnets have just come a long way.
I know with one of my side hobbies, I do a lot of RC car racing. That's why I brought that up earlier. LiPo batteries, that's been a big improvement for the RC car guys, going from the nickel metal hydride over to LiPos, because they can hold their charge longer. They don't, normal battery, as the battery starts to go down in capacity, your peak voltage, your amount of amperage you can draw from it also goes down, because it's a curve. Whereas with LiPos, it stays the same all the way pretty much until the battery's dead, and then it just goes right off the cliff.
Well, that's the way NiCads were when they first came out. You'd get constant flow with your electric drill, and then all of a sudden it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't slow down like the batteries prior to that did.
And the big problem with LiPos is if you over discharge them, that's actually how you can start fires. And the same thing with overcharging them if you leave them on the charger too long. And so that is a constant thing with RC car guys.
Now, lithium batteries, those are the kinds that you can't carry on planes. They require them to be in the cargo hold rather than in the cabin. Same situation there.
Yeah.
They're prone to fires.
Yeah, and that's something I'm sure as time goes on they'll figure out more and more ways to, it all comes down to how densely can you pack the energy and put it in the car, because batteries are heavy, so if you can find lighter materials, better insulating materials, you can put more wines in the cells. You can get the smaller you can get it, the finer the gap you can get, the more capacity you have. And these cars, it all comes down to manufacturing techniques, finding new materials. They might find a metal compound. If we mix cobalt and aluminum or whatever, we can make this special material. And it all adds to that capacity, and that's really where the research and the technology is. Same thing goes for wires and conductors, because you still got to take that energy from a battery and move it to the motor. And so the better, the less resistance you have in that process, the less heat you're going to have.
Right. And when you look at the element table, the dissimilar materials, that's what you're trying to get into those, is two materials that normally wouldn't go together, and they create that opportunity to store power. You talked about capacitors earlier, storing power. Well, capacitors are nothing more than two plates separated that store energy. On the opposite side of that, you have what's called a choke. This comes from my old electronic engineering days from radio. A choke is nothing more than a big coil of wire. Chokes are measured, this is getting way off in the weeds, but chokes are measured in henries or micro henries. And I had a radio transmitter that I was working on. It had a 5 Henry choke, which is a big deal. And I reached over and I was going to unplug that thing, and it knocked me on my fanny because it stored so much energy. Who would think just a coil of wire could store that much energy? But like a capacitor, a choke can also store energy.
You can actually store potential energy with a lot of stuff, and it looks like we've got EV on track right now. I'm not sure where they are going. I believe we have a Tesla down somewhere.
Don't see one down at the moment. We do see the emergency vehicle on track, and we see a couple of cars moving on track. We haven't found the problem area right now, but there is some kind of situation on the racetrack.
We're going to put the drone out there, see if we can see what's going on. But
yeah, we've been busy talking about other things up here.
Well, I was actually about to make a fun point about storing energy in batteries. You can, in theory, turn anything into a battery, because as long as you've got gravity and potential energy, that's actually a solution they're looking into in some other, I don't know quite where it's at. I think it was a Popular Science article I read about this, but they actually can take things like dirt, cinder blocks, anything heavy, and during non-peak hours, so when the grid is at its lowest, you can actually use the energy that's available to actually pick up that object and move it to a higher location.
Well, so that's almost like anything can store energy. That's almost getting into the form of solar power there, where you take energy from the sun and store it, and then able to use it whenever you're not in situations where the sun is shining. So solar energy sort of fits into that situation as well. You've got a programming note here.
Yeah, sorry, give me 1 second. Someone's tapping me on the shoulder.
Oh, okay. All right, we will get a little word from Will in a few moments. Changing on that car as he got it now back up to speed. So he had some an hour or so to try to make a little bit of improvement on the car. So we'll see if Blake Fabiani is able to do anything with that.
Sorry about that, Charles. Had to go be air traffic control for a second. We have got so many birds in the sky today. We've got R2 on the broadcast. We've got another 2 here filming out at Autocross with, I think there's an influencer out there who's driving with us today. And then we've also got birds in the sky for the Drive Passions event. They've got their film crew following them around. So
wow.
We had an errant drone just show up on site that we didn't know who it was, and had to take care of that. But we're all set.
Did you determine who it was?
Yes, we determined that he was not somebody that should have been up in the air.
Okay, so are we allowed to shoot that one down? That was a discussion we had earlier today. I don't believe that is the case, that you can shoot one of those down.
Well, no, you can't. They're protected. And one of the things here, too, is we require that you have a 107 license when you fly a drone, because anytime you're flying near or around pedestrians.
So why can I buy one at Harbor Freight for $69 then?
Because it's totally legal for you to buy a drone and fly it however you see fit. But the second you want to start flying it for commercial purposes, you got to have a license, you got to have a insurance, and pretty much in case you crash into anybody, you got to.
So for your own edification, it's okay, but not anything that you do that might be sold.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, we got a great shot there of our drivers working their way by as they get set to go. Pace car is off of the race course. We will expect a green flag here in just a moment. They come through very serenely through that turn 16 right now that can be treacherous under power. They come down to start finish. We'll be getting green flag, and we'll take them into turn one. How's this going to shake out right now? Fabiani up alongside Williamson.
And I'm curious why Fabiani took the pole over Bill Miller, because he was the second place on race 2. But it looks like he was off the throttle a little bit on that race start, but he is back on it now. But Keith Williamson, Blakely Fabiani are your 1 and 2 drivers right now. Great shot. Look at that. Catch the field, catch the drone, all going through turns 2. Here they are shooting up through that carousel.
Fabiani's right on his back bumper right now. He's got a chance to pass as they head down to 6. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see how that car holds up. I know he had time to cool off from race 1. Hopefully he was able to get some adjustments done. Maybe give Keith a little bit more of a run for his money during race 2. Fabiani holding on to that line a little bit longer. You saw Keith dive in sooner than Blake.
You did not see Blake's rear end slide around, though. Maybe he got whatever that problem was fixed or got some changes in his setup.
He took a little bit of a wider line through 6. That definitely helps keep that back end under control. I'm sure Williamson there, he raked that thing in there, and he didn't slide at all. And that's a pretty sharp line to be taken through turn 6.
Now, this is where Blake had some troubles earlier, and also Bill Miller back there in third spot. This is the area where Bill spun and did that 90-degree spin.
This part of the track gives a lot of people trouble because it is a blind hill. You're going up the hill into a sharp right-left turn. So you basically full right, full left as you're cresting the hill. It is probably one of my most favorite elements of this entire track.
Now, I could tell that when you carried us along to ride along that day. You went there, my stomach went up into my throat as you came across that little area of the track.
Well, what's driving on track if you can't have a little fun, Charles?
That was when you had the performance car. Now you no longer have the performance car.
I have got myself a 4-door dad car.
Well, and you're a dad, so
yes.
that's very fitting. It's amazing how things change all of a sudden, isn't it?
I have got a 10-month-old at the house right now, and I have been without my car for about 10 months. So,
when you take the car seat in and out of a 2-door car so much, you realize that is not profitable for having a child in a car seat.
Nope. And it was more of a virtue signaling to the wife that I am here, I am responsible,
That's right,
I am dad material.
I will make sacrifices and do what it takes.
But speaking of which, hopefully she's actually out running the autocross course right now.
Oh, is she? Collins is here doing that. In which vehicle?
No, she's running it.
So she's running the autocross. Oh, I got you. I thought you meant she was running in it.
No. She is boss lady. She is in charge of it right now.
So where's Bradley today? What's he doing?
He is hanging out with his grandma.
That sounds
hopefully
like
watching
fun.
the race from home.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, does he recognize your voice on TV?
He actually, funny enough, they pulled the stream up during the last race because my dad was watching them, and he cheered up the second he heard me on the broadcast.
How cool is that? So Fabiani's got the pressure on Williamson, even though that's now gotten to about a 4-car length advantage for Keith Williamson. Bill Miller just not able to keep up with those two guys. He's got his own little battle going with Jeremy Durst. You notice Durst finished ahead of Miller because of that spin in the pre-final, but when we go back to the final, since Durst is in a different class, in the open class, he had to start behind Bill Miller, and that's the way they stand right now.
Yeah, and Durst is still in – his car doesn't have as much power as the rest of the field. And mostly for safety reasons, you don't want to put a slower car in front of all the faster cars.
Right. So they're working their way down now. We've completed almost 5 minutes, almost 4 minutes of this 20-minute session for these drivers. So they're working their way down to turn 6 once again. That's a great area, or up to turn 2. Now they're into turn 3 and into turn 4 as we look at them right now.
I love that shot looking over turn 2 because you can really see the heat coming off the track here and see those track conditions.
I'm not used to that turn 3 camera yet. I still think I'm going into turn 6 when I see that view.
Yeah, we made the decision to put him off track rather than on the middle of the track. Logistically, it was easier putting the camera guy out in place, but it also got some great shots from that angle.
Well, at least when he's now over with the cowboy cam, as we used to call it, before he had nothing to really block the view of a driver coming in. Now he's got that big water tank. At least there's a little more safety precautions now.
And we're currently watching your race leaders heading up the back hill all 98
Fabiani
feet.
rear end slid out again.
And I'm assuming he's starting to warm up a little bit, although you look at that, all 4 drivers running their fastest laps of the race that last time by, a 138.213 from Keith Williamson. Blake Fabiani about 3/100ths of a second, or 3/10ths of a second off that pace. We're going to see this time by where that gap is at.
So at a minute and a half a lap, you're looking at 12, 13, maybe 14 laps throughout a race like this. We're 3 laps in, so we're a good quarter of the way, and we've got about 5 minutes complete, so that works out about right.
Yes, and these guys are running about, 10 to 15 seconds off pace of the Radicals. A true professional in a Radical would be in the tens, in the teens, 110 plus. A lot of these guys here today are in the 120s, and obviously we're watching these Miatas are in the 130s right now. So they're on pace. It is hot right now, so they're definitely slower than they have been. Typically, we've seen them sometimes get down to 135s, 136s for the Miatas, and that's absolutely cooking. But that's that's on a day we got good 50, 55-degree weather, nice cool ambient air, where those engines can really make some extra power. But on days like today where the track is hot and greasy and the engines are getting a lot of warm air because it's just hot outside, that really does affect the power that these Miatas have. And, they don't have much to begin with, so any lost horsepower is definitely felt.
Yeah, that's a major curve right there when they don't have that much horsepower.
Well, they don't have dials like those Radicals.
Well,
where
I
you
mean,
just, I need another 25 horsepower click.
Be nice if you had
like
that. Yeah. Well, some might have a nitrous bottle or something hidden in there, but they shouldn't have that. They're not supposed to. We saw the shot of the condos a little while ago, and I know there's been some talk of more condos being built here. There's also been talk and public reading, I think,
we're
locally
actually over top of where
lights.
we're actually over top of where the next round of condos are going.
Okay, they're going to be on Hamburger Hill in the middle?
All the way back there at the turn 14.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Way back there. So now what's the status of lighting and that kind of thing going on?
So we are in the process of asking the city very nicely to give us zoning and allow us to do that. So it's a long, drawn-out process.
Well, I know there was a public reading of that supposedly coming up at a city council meeting or something.
We had our first public hearing. I was actually there. There were some procedural things that people were pointing out, so we didn't withdraw our application or any of it. It was we need to check in on a few things, and we've got another.
So you need to amend it
plan.
and come back with another plan. Gotcha.
Because there was a few things they had some questions on. Most of the stuff they're not opposed to, but when you live next to a racetrack, you obviously don't want the racetrack to expand or do anything, and so some of our most vocal critics were in there pretty much just calling technicalities any place they could.
Sure.
And so, it's one of those things we got to button it back up and go back out there. And, we're asking for a lot right now. There's, whoa.
Fabiani in the sand pit. He's going to lose a couple of spots there, and luckily he's able to get back out on the track once again, but he lost it all the way back to the tail of the field.
And he didn't spin out, so I almost wonder if he just carried too much speed through that turn and just kept his line straight. We'll see it on the replay here.
Ooh, yeah, he's locked up the tires, and right in there he went. Had no control of the steering when that happened.
And unfortunately, where he did that, you can see all the tire marks in the turn. That was actually the start of the second stage of the drift turnout. So right below our screen right now at the exit of turn 14 is where that ended. So pretty much all the way from turn 8 to the entrance of turn 14 was the drift course on the back side of the track.
Okay, so that, I had asked you previously, and you got interrupted in telling me what the drift course actually is here. You started turns 2 through 6 or something like that?
Yeah, so the first one is turns 2 through 6, where we're basically looking right now. So where Jeremy Durst is coming out, actually where Bill Miller right here, turns 2 and 3 into the carousel. And you can really see, just look at all the black rubber on track.
Yeah, Fabiani is down in the pit area right now, so he's taking that car to the pits.
He is pulling off, so I think that's part of the new rules. If you go 4 off, they will pull you
really?
off track. Yeah,
Okay.
That was part of the drivers' meeting this morning. So I'm not sure if that's on his own doing or if he's just calling it a day and pulling it in. But that is a tough break for Blake Fabiani, although he's still going to get third place in the podium, so not terrible of a finish in terms of season points. But that pretty much is going to leave Keith Williamson and Bill Miller are going to be your only two drivers left up front in Spec Miata right now.
So let's get back to drifting. If you do turns 2 through 6, do you take that cutoff area right there at 6, or what do you do? Where do they loop back around to start again?
So if it's just 2 through 6, then they go through the cutoff just like how the time attack guys do. But what they recently started doing last year and they did again this year is instead of having the cutoff, they actually had a second section on track where you could go drifting. And that section basically started where you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, or the left-hand side of your screen, started right there at turn, I believe that was turn 9, and goes all the way through 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can really see, when you see these sky views, you can see the parts of the track that are a lot darker.
Right.
And that's literally, we just had a drift event 2 weeks ago, and that's where that came from. So like in this shot right here, you can literally see where the leaders right now, Keith Williamson coming past the condos. If he was a drift car, he'd be going sideways right now.
Right.
He would kick that clutch and tap the e-brake and throw it sideways, and he would be going sideways all the way where he's at now. You know, do it for the fans, do it for the gram, you know. We actually had T-Pain was out here drifting, so that was kind of fun. But they would still be sideways, coming all the way down here, sideways, 90 mile an hour entry sideways all the way through turn 6 right here. And then that's basically where they would cut it off, about the end of the rumble strip. And you can see that's roughly where the black marks end.
So when we do drifting events, are you using any kind of special tire for that, or is it just a regular DOT tire?
It is the driver's preference. So they can run anything they want.
You want a hard tire or a soft tire for drifting?
Depends on your budget.
So what's the optimal?
Well, because usually somewhere in the middle, but those tires are what most people run their cars, and those are expensive to burn. And so, you know, you get a super slick tire, the car doesn't grip when you need it to grip. You get a super soft tire, and it's way too expensive to be drifting on that. And so they usually land somewhere in the middle, but the guys that have the bigger budgets will go towards the slightly softer tires because they get more smoke out of them.
I
Because
see.
you get a nice big rooster tail of white smoke, and it looks cool. You get great pictures. You know, whenever you see the FPV footage, you know, from drift events, that's when you get those cool shots. And so that's what those drivers like to do.
So Williamson back down into turn 1 again. We're just past the halfway point of this race. Williamson in command. Bill Miller's behind him. Miller has not really had anything for Keith all afternoon. Blakely seemed like he had a little something for him for a while there, but that didn't really shake down in the end. So Williamson now leads with Bill Miller, and of course Jeremy Durst is back there in a different division with his car.
Yeah, that off-track incident, very unfortunate for Blakely Fabiani. I have a feeling he was probably black flagged after that, but he could have pulled it off for just his own personal sake. Because he doesn't.
Well, he had no chance to really catch up at that point.
And there could have been a mechanical that caused the issue. I mean, it looked like he locked up tires. So we won't know until we get down there after the race and talk with him.
Two things there. Number one, he probably doesn't need the experience just to stay out there in a car that's not handling well. And number two, that car's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. So why stay out there when you know you're relegated to a last place finish anyway?
You know, and Blakely's been a mainstay here in our series the last couple seasons, and I know he wants to have the car ready to go again next month. So probably better safe than sorry when it comes to this.
You know, many drivers, they have a situation like that on track. They'll go ahead and start working on the car immediately when they pull it in because they've got the motivation and the impetus and the time. He's got 20 or 30 minutes here of time. He could be on a track, and he can actually get started working on that car to better it for next time.
Well, if I know Blake, since this was race 2, he's probably going to park it, go hop in his Tesla, and get as many autocross runs in as he can.
Well, that's true. He's got another thing going on here today as well.
All right, we need all Downforce cars, all Downforce cars. Start making your way to grid. If you can hear me, all Downforce cars. We need to get you on the grid and ready to go for race number 2, all Downforce cars.
So Williamson brings them off. Great shot from the drone there as they come off turn number 1 and head down toward the S's. Good shot there coming through turn 2. And you see those cars. You see how the shift in the car takes place there when they come off of turn 2 into turn 3.
And that's some of the fun of these angles that we're able to get. You can really see the elevation change here at Atlanta Motorsports Park, and that's what makes this track so much fun to drive.
Doesn't this have the most elevation change of any track in America?
I'm not sure if we're the most. I know that we are one of the most technical tracks of any track in North America.
What makes it technical? Define that term.
The fact that the track it's not super wide. I mean, it's obviously wide enough to race. A lot of guys don't like the fact that there's not huge rooms to pass. I mean, you got to know what you're doing when you're passing in the turns here. But it's the fact that the driving line is all over the place. You were literally going from one side of the track, other side of the track. You're going uphill, you're going downhill. There is no such thing as a flat turn here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Everything is either on camber, off camber. You know, it stresses every element of your car. And one of the big things is we've got these two big left-handed sweepers, and so it really punishes your outside front tire super hard. And, you know, stuff like that, it all leads to brake fade, you know, heat builds, and it really punishes your car super fast. I mean, most street cars, you can't even go more than 2 to 3 laps at speed on this track.
Wow.
And that's like sports cars. That's not just showing up in your dad's Honda Fit. That's literally showing up in a non-prepped, you know, Dodge Hellcat. I mean, you'll get 3 laps and the brakes are squishy. You know,
wow.
and that's a common misconception here at the track. And a lot of guys get, you know, they get caught with their pants down when they come out here, and they think their hot snot just drove the car off the dealer lot, and then they send it into turn 1 after the 3rd lap because they ain't got no brakes. And, you know, that's part of the prep. That's part of getting your car ready. It's part of the racecraft and driving and knowing, because you can still drive your car once you get heat built in it. You just got to know that the heat's there. I don't need to be pushing it at 120, 130 miles into turn 1. I need to be, you know, slowing down a little bit on the front straightaway. And you can make your sessions last. You can stay out for 15, 20 minutes if you're in a, you know, a non-prepped car. But if you want to do what you're seeing right now, you want to go for 20 minutes straight on track, you've got to do a lot to your car. And
so the Miatas, oversized brakes, bigger rotors, and so forth that they would normally run?
Well, that's what's fun about the Miatas. There's not much to them because they're pretty close to bone stock, aside from adding the cage and some parity stuff to keep the engines, you know, to keep everybody in the same power class, because they run restrictor plates on the motors. But there's not a lot done to them, and that's what makes this class so economical. Is you just go find a scrap Miata, pull whatever you need off of it. You know, if you wreck it and need to replace something. You know, you'll see guys out there with sledgehammers beating dents out and just going back out on track.
I know that there have been courses where law enforcement has been involved, and they use them for teaching purposes. Is that anything that goes on here at Atlanta Motorsports Park?
We do some random stuff like that. We used to have the Bobby Orr Stunt School was here a lot.
Oh, that's not here anymore?
No, they haven't been here in what was the change we made over the off season? I think they decided to go elsewhere.
Oh, really?
Or found somewhere else to do their school, but we don't have them out here anymore. But they used to do some combat training. They had some tactical training that they did. But recently, with our Amped Up event that we had back in April, we've been in talks now to try and that was actually one of the changes we put in our zoning thing that we're asking to the city, is to be able to do military training exercises out here.
Gotcha.
Because part of it requires the after dark, so we have to ask for permission to do that and get the zoning to be able to do it after dark.
Well, I have a friend who was a childhood friend. We actually went to elementary school together, who became a Georgia State Trooper. And then he also, from that point, became a race car driver. He was a very good race car driver on asphalt and on dirt. And at Roebling Road down near Savannah, he developed the pit maneuvers that the people, that most law enforcement is using right now. And he actually came up with a team of people that was under him with all those pit maneuvers and how to do that and how to pit a car. So all of that happened at a road course. And so I wondered if that was happening here at Atlanta Motorsports Park also.
Well, they're definitely trying to use the facility for more things than just racing. But I am currently getting word from race director right now. We need to get all Downforce cars to the grid. All Downforce cars, if you can hear me, I see you guys sitting up there on pit road. We need to get you guys gridded up. We are keeping this program on schedule, so once this race gets finished, we are going to be releasing Downforce So we need all Downforce drivers. You need to make your way to the grid.
And there's a bunch of them. We got a lot of them today. Good to see all those Downforce cars here. Laps winding down now for our Spec Miatas as Keith Williamson in that 64 car continues his prowess of this field. There you see a little go-kart action. We'll be back at the go-kart track next Saturday.
Yes, and we have one of the largest regional karting series in North America. So if
we
you
have
like,
115, 120 kids here.
We actually broke our own record last month with 141 entries.
141, wow.
So that
fantastic.
That is almost on the level of a national event in terms of entries.
And it's so neat because as an announcer of these guys, you're calling these names, and then when you go see them as you're walking through the pits, they'll be 4 and 5 years old, little bitty guys. I think you have to be 5,
yeah.
right? Okay.
And that's like where we met Raiden Nickel, who was your pole sitter for the Downforce race. He started back there at Kart Track. We first met him when he was, I think, 12 or 13, and hard to believe he's only 15 years old driving
Isn't that
car.
Unbelievable?
And
what
he's
a
already,
talent.
and he's already. This is his second season up here at the main track.
Have you heard? Is he going to be able to be back out? He had to leave earlier with
I don't know.
difficulties in the first
look
race.
At Bill Miller almost repeating himself
Wow.
up there in 3. Managed to keep that together.
We talk about a 360 spin or a 180. Bill Miller had an exciting 90-degree spin. He just went 90 degrees, but it was so interesting the way that car slid around. Oh, and I started to say Miller's off course. That's a car down in the autocross there. Saw a red one, and I thought that was Miller way off track. White flag is out this time by.
White flag, 1 lap to go. And your race leader, Keith Williamson, all out by himself.
Now, what did you call it? Not the frickin' chicken. What did you call that car?
Super Chicken.
Super Chicken. Okay, well, I got it a little way off track there, didn't
and
I?
the bandit there. Eastbound and down.
Yeah.
He is definitely putting the hammer down right now on this field. He's got almost the entire carousel between him and Bill Miller right now. Although I will give props to Bill Miller for staying as close as he is to Keith Williamson. Normally we'll see in some of these larger grid races, when he's got more traffic, the mid-pack will really get far behind because as they're duking it out.
And he had that little miscue on the last lap, so he's done a great job of catching up as much as possible. Bill Miller just doesn't have anything left for Keith Williamson today because there's such a big gap there. And Williamson's run a flawless race.
Yeah, Williamson's one of our most, I'd say one of our most consistent drivers. He's been here for such a long time. He was here before I came in, and I know he's been racing. He's one of the head guys over at NASA. Used to be the head organizer for NASA Southeast. I think he's got more of a backseat role now with them. He still races with NASA. And he, I'm sure he'll have this car in the garage, get stickered up and ready to go out to his next event on the road.
Now, how long is this track? When was the first actual competition race here?
Well, we opened up in 2012, so my assumption would be sometime in
11
2012,
years.
2013
Okay,
would have
gotcha.
been our first season. I don't quite fully know when the actual first race was run, but I know this one is coming to a close as Keith Williamson takes the checkered flag. Bill Miller there in second place. And with Blakely Fabiani already off track, that will round out your top 3 for Spec Miata. And Jeremy Durst, I did not see if he pulled off track or not, if he was still out there. And we will see where he is at if he comes by.
He was out of screen most of the time, so we didn't really get to see much of what happened with Jeremy Durst. Now, is he trying out that low-power engine for something in particular? What was the situation with him?
He told me it was one of his backup motors, and he was trying to put some hours on it.
Hey, everybody, we see you on the photo deck out there.
Wave at
Good
us.
to see everyone.
Live on Facebook and YouTube right now. Getting ready for this record-setting Downforce race.
What a great day here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. It's going to be, 3 months from now, 4 months from now, all these trees are going to change color, and it'll be the most beautiful sight in racing right here at
it'll
AMP.
be our favorite month of the year, Oktoberfest.
Hey, everybody. Hi. How are y'all doing?
Yeah, if y'all can hear me,
Hello.
go ahead, get up on the balcony, get ready. These Downforce cars are on the grid. They are getting ready to go. Y'all should get excited. This is one of our largest Downforce grids we have ever had. It was 17 cars pre-registered.
Ooh, cool
We're
shot
gonna
going right through
see
there.
how many, right as Mikey cuts away from it. Throwing the producer under the bus. There we go. He's sitting right behind me. It's all good. He's a cool guy.
And not only that, you crack on Mikey all the time anyway, so there you are. Mikey Lane, our producer today. Michaela Denny is on assignment today, so she is not here with us. She's our normal producer.
She is actually out for the month of July, so she won't be here next week either. She has got a full-time gig on a movie set right now.
That's pretty cool.
So really excited for her. She just finished up college.
Actress, camera, producing, what is she doing?
She does a little bit of everything, but in terms of what she's doing now, she is behind the scenes on the camera.
Behind the scenes. Well, Rachel Heiler is behind the scenes, right there behind the wheel of the safety cars. We get ready to pull that primal marqueed BMW out on track here in just a moment with the cars behind her. We've got SR1s, SR3s, SR10s as far as the Radical cars are concerned, and then we've got a number of Praga cars out there as well. I think there'll be 4 of those, maybe 3, depending on what's up. There's Raiden Nichols' car. Looks like he's going to be back out.
Yep, the number 98.
Oh, that's
maybe
not Raiden.
Nope, there's nobody in that one.
I thought that was green, but that's a blue. That's a blue tint on that one.
Great shot through the field. There's that Radical SR10 Shane Anderson right there on the left hand or the right hand side of the screen.
Man, I can't get over. Tyler was up here telling us $250,000 for those Praga cars.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They are expensive.
Racing ain't cheap, folks.
And that was the number, it looked like the number 96 that was waving at us. I'm trying to check my score sheet to see who that was. And they're getting everybody gridded up right now.
What a great shot. Boy, you just don't get this shot every day when you see drivers lining up and you get that shot right above them. That is fantastic.
Yeah, awesome shots from our FPV pilot, Daryl Cannon. Killboy.com as we see those cars coming to grid. And there's Raiden Nickel and that green.
Yeah, Raiden's out there.
Radical. It should be the green 93 pulling up. Let's see.
Seems like he gets more and more green on that car every
Yes,
week.
he does.
We're beginning to see him for more than just the little green on the area of the spoiler.
Now, this is going to be the driver to follow right now. There's Tyler Edwards. He was up in the booth talking with us earlier. But that green car is going to be the one to watch because with that incident, or I guess with the mechanical troubles he had race 1, that's going to put Raiden to the back of the grid for race number 2.
Boy, that will be interesting, Will.
So it's going to be fun to watch what happens with that.
Now, that Praga car, that's the one that didn't start earlier.
Yep.
And so now he's got that car ready to roll, and it was unfortunate he didn't get a chance to start.
Nope.
But that's another one we may watch work his way through the field because he didn't get a single lap in.
No, well, the silver and red one didn't even make it to the green flag, and then the white one also had to be recovered as well.
That's
so
true.
Happy to see them back up and running under their own power, so hopefully they'll take the grid.
You can tell it's a hot day. They got the doors open right now, trying to keep as much, at least from it heating up in the cockpit. I don't think cool air is coming in, but at least it's not roasting inside those cars at the moment.
And that looks like Jack Rambo's car there, just pulling the door down on that Praga R1 that's sitting there still in the pit box. It looks like he's going to be going to the back. I'm not sure what happened with that. Did he miss grid, or is he just going to start with the other Pragas?
Jack and I just became Facebook friends yesterday, so I'm excited to start seeing his post from his point of view in those cars.
So let's see.
Us old folks are still on Facebook, Will.
Yes, I'm. What, are you calling me old?
No, but I'm saying that's TikTok.
That's half of my job is to be on Facebook.
I'm there in TikTok, and I'm there in LinkedIn, and I'm there on some of the other social media platforms, but Facebook is still my go-to as an old guy.
Well, I can tell you as a marketer, we love and we both hate Facebook at the same time.
Well, as a race person, it has its ways of being a great tool, and yet sometimes you don't want to open it and see what other people post about you.
Yes, and speaking of which, we are live right now on Facebook.
That's good.
And YouTube, in case Facebook takes us down, if they're listening. But no, we're happy to bring this stream to you guys. We hope you've been enjoying it, watching it at home. This is going to be our final race of the day, so we are excited to see race number 2 here in these the Downforce car. Love seeing these grid starts from these Downforce guys.
Especially with such a huge field today, it is outstanding to see. And you're going to see some hungry drivers. Raiden Nickel for one, other drivers that are going to make their way through the pack. It's going to be a great, great race. And, of course, a big social coming up tonight. Hit that right quick.
Yeah, we've got the Saturday Night Social coming up after with the Drive Passions event. We've got that full band concert going on. Got all the exotic cars out there. Drag racing, autocross. It'll be quite the event. But right now, the only thing that matters is this race start as we are getting ready to go. I believe this is the second pace lap, so these guys are about to get in tight here for the race start. Let's see. I don't know if lights are off or not yet. All right, so we're doing one more lap. So let's see where we are at. Yes, it'll be one more time by. They give these guys 2 pace laps to help warm up, get some heat in the tires.
Yeah, I think heating the tires is probably more important than getting engines up to temperature. That's extremely important in these lightweight cars when they head down to that turn 1. Is just such a treacherous turn because it's more than 90 degrees, and you gotta get a fast pace going down there. Matter of fact, Tyler Edwards can explain this to us a little bit. When you go down to turn number 1.
Got to give him a second. He just ran up the stairs.
He
was all the way down there by pit out, and he just ran all the way up here.
I do understand. Yeah, we saw you down there. Got you on camera a moment ago as the drone brought you over. So Tyler is recuperating from his trip up the stairs. As you go down into turn 1, you know, at the start of the race when you get the green flag, obviously you want to accelerate. You want to get going as fast as possible. But then you got to woe it down as quickly as you can because you got like a 130-degree turn when you're going down into turn 1. That's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, you're going on the fast part of the track into pretty much the slowest part of the track in a very, very short amount of time because these downforce cars, you know, they got a lot of grip, they have a lot of aero, and, you know, it doesn't take too much of them to go from 130 down to 45.
Wow, that is unbelievable. So you speed up quickly, and then all of a sudden you got to hit the binders and pull them down. And then, of course, when you come off turn number 1, I guess you treat turns 2 and 3 wide open. There's not enough turn there to create any kind of a problem through those S's.
So most of the experienced drivers are going to be full throttle out of 1 up that hill. Towards turn 2, you have a big brake zone, actually, to really settle the front end from turn 2 into turn 3.
Really?
Yes, and you want to kind of let the car settle through turn 3. Turn 3 is really, really tricky because it's off camber.
Yeah.
It's very easy to understeer or carry too much speed and oversteer. And so you really got to kind of give up a little bit in turn 3 to make sure you have a really good entrance into turn 4.
So let me ask you this question. You are sort of the guy here who tells everybody where to brake, where to go in, where to turn out, so forth, what part of the track to get to, use rumble strips, don't use rumble strips. Are you ever amazed by somebody that does something different and say, maybe that's a new idea?
Well, first off, I'm not the only one here that tells people, you know, how to get around this place. I'm thankfully one of the people here, but yeah, you can always learn from other people. Other instructors always teach in different ways. But I can really guide somebody pretty well around this place. We're about to go green. Looks like we got the two first and second real close.
Yeah, boy, look at this.
Pace car is off track.
And keep your eye on Raiden Nickel. He's back there at the back. He's
Those
one
green
of the drivers
stripes.
to watch. Yeah, green stripes on that car, and he's going to be trying to work his way through the field. He was up front earlier. Can he make it back up there again?
And Chris Hune will take the field to green side by side with Nicholas Pearson. Look at that.
Man, they were like touching each other going into turn 1.
Pearson got a little bit of the jump, but since he's on outside, he's going to have to yield. Whoa, look at that.
3 wide, several ways back.
He got left no room.
And Raiden's already up to about 4th or 5th.
Oh,
Man, what a jump.
Man, he must have been sitting in a rubber band and just shot himself to the front there. Look at that.
Look at him passing on the outside now, or trying to.
Now he's making his way around the carousel on the outside line.
Now he's down on the inside.
Looks like he's going to get caught here behind Shane Anderson, that SR10. We'll see if he can make a dive into turn 6. He's looking to the outside. Shane's going defensive.
Let's see as they make their way through 6.
Made a little crossover move.
Oh, man.
Oh, and Shane's still there, but there's that power. That shows the power difference of the SR10.
Wow.
He got around him, but Shane just shot right back in front of him once he had that thing pointed straight. And look at this, a little bit of a traffic jam coming through turn 9. And here they are diving at the bottom of the hill, going all the way up, 98 feet of elevation change. And let's see here as they are making their way around. We are kind of in the mid-pack right now, so the leaders are already about to pass the stripe for the first time.
Yep, everybody's single file. Everybody's just kind of filing into position. Race starts are always so unpredictable. It's really just about making it through safe and clean. you can gain a lot. You can also lose a lot on a race start.
Well, Raiden Nickel up to third already from his starting spot. So what a tremendous first lap for Raiden Nickel.
I would say that was about 10 spots gained on that first lap.
And most of it gained before he got to turn 4.
Yeah. And right now, Chris Hune is your race leader, running a 1:24.142. Nicholas Pearson hot on his tail right now, although they put a little bit of a gap between the two of them. So right now it's Chris's race to win.
Big lockup there from Nicholas Pearson going to turn 6.
Wow.
And right now we are looking at Shane Anderson and Greg Folger right now.
I think there was a penalty for Folger coming by a moment ago, so I'm not sure how that plays out in the long term.
Yeah, we just established some new rules this race in terms of when to give a space, when to leave a space. Because these big grid fields, we felt the need to kind of tighten down a little bit on some of the rules. So that's probably what we're seeing. We'll have to talk to race director Sean Hayes after this to find out what the call was.
Yeah, right now it's really important to get into a rhythm, get comfortable, know where you're at, and start, trying to find your way forward, understanding, you got to run your own race. It's very easy to be so distracted and focus too much on your mirrors, and you just got to run your own race. And it's hot today. It's very hot.
Tyler, we see Raiden out there. Raiden's 15 years old. He's been in Downforce cars a couple of 3 years that I remember now. What is there an age, a bottom age group for these drivers?
The youngest that I've ever taken, or that Primal has ever taken people into our racing school, is 14 years old.
14.
The
okay.
way to get in at that young of an age, they have to come with some form of karting experience, and they're trying to make their first step into a race car. If they have no previous racing experience growing up, then we normally start and
big lockup.
Yeah, it was a very big
He's
lockup.
gonna flat spot that tire. He keeps doing that.
Yep. So normally 16 years old is going to be the youngest.
I got you. Well, of course, Raiden not only had the karting experience, but also the Spec Miata experience coming in. So you knew him before he ever set foot in Primal School.
Yeah, I really got to know him when he got involved, as well as his dad, Ryan. They've been out here a lot over the kart track and have kind of made their way over here on main track when he was racing his Miata, and he's recently, really within this past year, been in a Radical.
Oh, is that what it's been, just this past year? Okay. Yeah, I know we've called his name for so many years in both karting and over here with Spec Miata. I kind of lost track of what all he's been in during that time. Chris Hune still out front. And it's Raiden Nickel has now moved up to second spot, so he got by Nicholas Pearson that time. Pearson been locking those tires up.
This is going to be a fun battle to watch between Raiden Nickel and Chris Hune. Raiden trying to get around Chris. Let's see how long it takes him. Chris always probably one of the few guys that can put up a fight against Raiden, but he's also in that bigger, more powerful SR3.
Well, he's got to try to drive defensively.
I saw Chris sliding around quite a bit coming out of turn 6 that last lap. They're coming down to turn 6 right now. And I don't know if Chris is really struggling with the tires underneath him. You see Raiden having much more of a late exit where Chris was going a little defensive.
Oh, man, Raiden almost putting 2 wheels on the grass there, going all the way to the edge of the track.
He is attacking it, that's for sure.
Hey,
Raiden being aggressive now as they go down through those turns.
Every square inch of that racing surface is there for them to use, and he is taking full advantage of it.
And that's been a change, Will. We used to, if you got 4 tires off of the rumble strips coming out of 6, that was a penalty. Now you can use all the racetrack you want.
Yes, that was something we changed a couple seasons back, and then we reverted about halfway through.
What was the
season.
reasoning for having a penalty there to start with?
I think, reason was just to clamp down on the rules because you're not supposed to go 4 off into rumble strips, and for keeping it, I think, within line with SCCA rules.
Yeah, that's correct. But out here with turn 6 being such a tricky corner, it actually makes it a bit safer being able to use and allow that. Because of how tricky turn 6 is, when you're on power with that much wheel input, guys were pinching the car trying to avoid that runoff area, and they were spinning more often.
I got you. So it's actually become a safety issue and an issue that kept us green longer.
Correct.
By being able to do that.
And I can tell you the drivers really appreciated when we reverted
I'm sure.
back on
Now
that.
look at this. Here we go. We got the pass underway right now.
He is on the inside, getting his way around Chris Hune.
How's he going to do it down in 6? That's the question. What's going to happen here? They're still side by side.
Let's see. Doesn't have position. He's going to have to leave a lane to the inside.
Oh, but he's able to accelerate off 6, and he's now full in control of this race.
And looks like, Raiden Nickel is your new overall race leader, getting around Chris Hune as they make their way through turns 7, 8, 9, and 10. getting around to the back side of the track here, heading up that back hill, all 98 feet of it. And it looks like
we got a spin in turn 6. Spin in turn 6. It looks like William Layton had a little bit of a moment. He did get it rolling. We are back running underway.
And that was Layton just going by with the orange helmet on.
Really good job making sure he was safe to get back rolling. He didn't, lose too much, but yeah, turn 6, that's the corner. It's easy to spin.
Yeah. Tyler, when you see these drivers out here, how many of them come back for refresher courses or want to up their game after they've been racing for a while?
Pretty often. As this field has continued to grow, a majority of these drivers have all gone through our school, the 3-day school, the 2-day advanced school. They've done private rentals. Some of them have purchased cars, and they're using their own cars. They had so much fun, they're like, we want to buy a car. Because we are a Radical authorized dealer. So if you're in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, the Carolinas, we're kind of the dealership for this area. But yeah, guys come back for refreshers often. As the field's grown, it's become very competitive, and so everybody's trying to be better than everybody else. They're all buddies out here, but they're all very competitive.
Now, these are British-made cars. These are assembled in the UK and come over here, or I know at one point in time they assembled the cars here, brought parts over. How does that work?
Yeah, so currently if you want to purchase a Radical, you can fully spec it with various options how you want the car, and we can order them for you. We do have cars on site available brand new, so if you did want to purchase one, we already have some here on site ready to go. But they are built in the Peterborough, UK, in the United Kingdom, and when they build them, they ship them over on a container fully prepped, ready to go.
So if someone is wanting to order one with all the bells and whistles or all the specs and they have to order it from Peterborough, what's the lead time on getting one usually?
Normally it's going to be about 5-6 months, but that's why we do things maybe a little different than some other dealers where we'll actually order cars and have them over here in bulk. And so then what we can do is we can also, save some money on shipping cost and everything else. But with that, we can also retrofit options as well.
So do you have storage area here with the cars in them at this location, or are there other storage areas around the area?
We do. So we have some storage options available to certain clients of ours. Some people in this race, we actually store their car and maintain it in our shop. Some of the other drivers in this field are obviously members of Atlanta Motorsports Park, and they have their own garages.
So how many mechanics or people do you have that work on the staff here?
So we have a lead mechanic. His name is Patrick. He's kind of the main engineer, lead tech. We have Jonathan, who is our parts guru. Any part on a Radical, he can tell you. You point at it, you ask him, he's going to know what that cost is.
I've talked with him down in the showroom area, and man, you just ask any question, and he'll go on and
he'll
on
know
about everything. He'll know about it.
He'll know. And so then we have a couple of part-time guys here out as well helping us out. But our team is ever growing. We're always growing. We're always looking for more mechanics as well that really want to be involved in motorsports. And so if you're interested and potentially looking for a job with us, get in touch.
What kind of training or schooling do you need to become part of the team here?
Well, we obviously prefer that you have some form of background in motorsports if possible. And you have to be, mechanically inclined and understanding of how to work on a car.
Do you have any partnerships with, say, North Georgia Tech or any of the technical institutions to do things like that?
Yes, we have talked with Lanier Tech quite a bit just up the road from here, and we've kind of gone over to their motorsports program and talked to some of their people, and one of our part-timers is actually in their motorsports program right now, and he's kind of helping us out over the summer.
Actually, I have a good friend who is the president of North Georgia Tech, who is a very big race fan. I need to hook y'all up with him.
Yeah, I'd love to get in contact.
They have obviously mechanics, and they specify a lot of their things in race engines and race work, so we need to hook y'all up together. This Praga car is running strong. I've seen him pass 5 or 6 people. He's behind Greg Folger right now. So that is Elliot Alexander. He is one of the drivers that has really been on the move in that car.
Yeah, it looks like he's actually in front of Greg Folger now in that silver Praga.
Yeah.
It looks like Greg Folger's just really struggling with his tires because I talked to him at the end of that last race, and boy, they're really tight right there coming through turn 10. That's between David Mason and John Pearson. Side by side through turn 10, that is a hairy situation, but looks like David's given up a good defensive fight. Got a little deep on the brakes there.
I didn't recognize that was John out there because he normally shares a car with Nick. John will do one race, Nick will do the other.
Yeah, they're both out there, father-son. It's pretty cool.
Did they just pick up that car, or have they always had to?
They have had to, so.
But Nick does more. It's more for him in his backup car.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick is also a college football player, right?
I believe so.
He's as big as one. I'm pretty sure he got accepted to Maryland. It's
Wow.
kind of intimidating when you have the registration table, big linemen. You know,
Yeah.
up here, check in.
There's a pass into turn one. Pretty respectable. You know, that's just a textbook pass into turn one. Good move.
Well, there you see him coming on strong again. Look at this. It's
The speed of that Praga really just shows in the straightaways. Now the Praga is really pressuring David Mason now. We'll see if David can, hold him off for a couple laps.
those are such unique cars. They are. It's been a great addition to have them here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. This is what, third race now that we've had the Pragas here?
Yeah, they came in race 2 this season. They had a real strong showing in race 2. There's been some mechanical issues that have been dogging some of the competitors.
Wow.
Which that's racing, and it's a shame when you only got 4 of them and one of them's down, with issues. But we're trying to get the field built back up. There's about 6 drivers in the area currently that are circling through that come and join, and we're trying to get to where we can have a good 8-9 car grid because there's enough in the Southeast. We just got to make it work to get them all here at the same time.
So, Hannah, who is spearheading the Praga resurgence or insurgence here at Atlanta Motorsports Park?
That is actually all on Shane Anderson. He is actually the Praga dealer now.
Oh, really?
So, yes, that's how they brought those cars in.
Now, is he based out of Atlanta?
He's based out of AMP. He's got his
Really?
garage downstairs.
Wow.
Him and Jack Rambo share a garage, and they've got space next to that as well where they store cars.
So they actually have a presence here at the track, so we'll definitely be seeing that division grow.
That's what we're hoping.
Excellent. There you see 2 battling at each other. Well, one of those is an SR or something or other.
Yep,
Look at
that black and orange is a Radical SR3.
That's R3, okay.
Yep, so the Radicals, you're going to either have a Radical SR3 or a Radical SR1 in this field, except for Shane Anderson is that he's got a Radical SR10.
Right, that's the lone SR10.
And I'm hopeful we might see a Radical RXC because I was just talking to John Hope Bryan about his recent purchase, which I believe y'all facilitated.
I did help with that.
So, and I've been because he was the guy that was out here in.
Now, that's an SR what?
The Radical RXC.
RXC, what
it
is
stands
that?
for Radical Extreme Coupe. It's essentially the granddaddy model. It's got
really?
650 horsepower.
So it takes precedence over any SR.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And they can be made street legal.
Really?
Which is even more wild.
What, do you have a package that you order that gives you the headlights and the wipers and all that stuff?
Yeah, you can order from factory with either a street legal package. It'll come with airbags and everything else.
Airbags, too.
Or you can obviously have it for a track-only spec.
And here's a pass. Looks like Folger. Is that Greg Folger making the pass on David Mason right now? Or is that Elliot?
I believe that is
Praga, too.
Yeah, I believe that's Elliot. It's hard to see with the little bit of blur. That was Elliot Alexander, and
we'll have to see at the stripe here. Yep, gaining 2 positions there, putting Shane Anderson back 1 and John Pearson back another spot.
And that just really shows the speed of those Pragas, how just walks away, and that's why it's in a different class.
We got about 5 minutes left
in
this.
We got one off.
Round.
We got one off at turn 1. We need to see who that driver is. That's that blue car, or the one with the blue livery on it. Daryl Cannon, Killboy.com, rushing that FPV drone over there so we can see who that is. And
that is the 96.
That's gonna be David Patterson, that dude in blue.
He was
waving
his hand.
He was the SR1 winner of this last race, so looks like he had a bit of a moment going to turn 1.
That is a tough break.
And I believe we're going to have to bring safety car out for him, safety crew out for him because he's not moving.
Yeah, he's not going to reverse it out of there. They're going to have to pull him out. And I don't think he wants to drive straight through the sand pit to get out of there.
You don't want to be sitting there because that's a prime area for someone else to spin out and hit him. So I got a feeling caution is going to be coming out.
We'll see. We will see if this goes, or if they can get out there and get him removed quickly, because we're already 16 minutes into this 20-minute race.
Wow. They're going to try to get a restart, so they're going to try to pull him off as quickly as possible. Tyler, here's something I want to mention to you. You talked about street legal cars. You'll be interested in this. I was at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Bruton Smith was wanting to have a parade of Legends cars, or led by a Legends car, to downtown Charlotte for the Christmas parade. And he had Elliott Forbes Robinson there making a Legends car street legal. He was having to put all the things
I think
on
I
it.
actually saw something about that.
Yeah, and I was up there that day, and it was so neat. EFR had here's this world-class mechanic and world-class race driver, and yet he had his wrenches and screwdrivers in a cardboard box under his arm. No big toolbox or anything. It was amazing to see him working there.
Now I saw the other Ben Thorne. Did he take the grid this race? Because I did not see him.
He
out
did.
there.
He did take the grid. He should be in number 99.
Oh, I see him now. He's 12 laps in. My scoring just updated. He was sitting there at the bottom. So that means Ben, if he keeps it on track, he'll finish ahead of David.
Yep. I know they had that big competition, the battle of the YouTubers, and with this, David making this mistake, that's going to promote Ben in front of him.
Wow. And
the trash talking will never end.
Yeah, we got to see what spin they're going to put on it in the final video.
Yeah, we'll see. Keep your eyes out on YouTube for Gears and Gasoline and That Dude in Blue for their video
Well,
releases.
there's not much of a spin he could put on it because he stayed straight when he went.
That's
on track.
right. Yeah, yes, he pretty much tells the tale right there, doesn't it?
But that is a tough break, a hard way to end your day, in the sand trap.
It is.
Although it looked like he actually kept it out of the sand, so he landed it on the fairway. So that's
Okay.
Sorry, I'll stop with the jokes.
Oh man, wound up in the sand trap. It was a rough ride into there, right?
Well, we call it the Beach Club here. So he's that's the one membership you don't want here at AMP.
Well, now, we see a lot of times, we have kart rentals, of course, at the kart track that's within our view out of the tower here. Track rentals for Primal Racing School. How often do you have racing going on? Is it daily?
No, it's not daily, but we have a 3-day school once a month. We have a 1-day school normally twice a month. And I have a 2-day advanced school. I try to do a 2-day advanced school twice a month, or at least once a month if I can. Just depends on the demand I have.
So how often or how soon does someone need to get in touch with you to be in an upcoming class?
Well, currently we have our dates all the way out through September. And so, I always recommend booking sooner than later if you are interested in getting booked. But we have dates available on our website. You can go to book now on primalracing.com and see all of our upcoming dates.
Okay, so that's at Primal Racing, not at AMP site. You got to
That is
Primal
correct.
Racing
That
site.
is correct. Primalracing.com, and then you'll find all of our programs, all of our information, and you can go to a Book Now link. It'll show you all of our upcoming dates for schools.
Excellent. And the next one is starting when?
We have a 3-day school the end of this month.
End of this month. Okay. Now, is it full?
We have spots available still.
Okay, so
We still
people
have
can
spots
still get in
available.
touch with
Yes.
you and be involved in it.
That's correct.
How long advance notice do they have to have? Could they, like the week of the school, could they still come up with you if spots were available?
Registration is normally cut off between 3 to 2 days prior to a school.
Okay, so it's very soon to the
Pretty
school.
pretty
They
close.
can actually
Yep.
get in if
Yep.
the spots are available.
If there are still spots available.
Now, how do you plan? How many cars you have available, or what
Yes,
constitutes a spot?
it's how many cars we have available and ready. We have a pretty big fleet of cars, so we can have fairly big school sizes. Normally, our school size is going to be, 6 to 12 students.
So take me through what a school is like. Day one, when you're there, is it all classroom, or is there any like an on-track ride around, or what do you do?
For day one, we start with a lot of our fundamentals. We want to bring guys in. We want to get them comfortable in the cars.
You're getting photobombed by-
We are basically going to do a lot of cone exercises in the morning. We have a skid pad, a fantastic skid pad here at Atlanta Motorsports Park that we can train on. And then in the afternoon...
They're actually in these cars.
No, we have a BMW.
I got you.
We have some BMWs that we use for some of our cone exercises. And then the afternoon of day one is when we get into the Radical SR1. And we're doing lead follow the entirety of the afternoon
So
of day
they're
one.
actually in race car day one.
On day one, yeah. Yep. And then day two is when we introduce open lapping. We're going to be introducing how to go out by yourself and basically be mindful of your mirrors, be mindful of flags. Sometimes I'll throw flags on purpose just to make sure they're paying attention. We want to make sure that I feel comfortable giving them a race license by the end of that school. We're going to do everything from close proximity training, passing drills, passing exercises, side-by-side exercises. On day 3, we do race starts and restarts.
Now, when they do side-by-side exercises, are they doing that against an instructor, or are they doing
Another
that against
student.
another competitor?
Yeah, so we'll
Or
have a lead
student?
car. We'll have a lead car, and then we'll have 2 students drive side-by-side for an entire lap. And then we'll have them swap positions side to side The good thing about that is that, one, it teaches you close proximity and what it feels like to be right next to another car at a slower speed. It also shows you what it feels like to be off the racing line, because most people, when they come to a racetrack, they've only ever, learned the racing line. Like at turn 1 right there we're looking at, you want to be right next to those rumble strips. But if you've never practiced or been on the middle lane, if somebody's on your inside, you want to practice that, know what it feels like, what's the car capable of. And so we practice all kind of stuff with racecraft.
Excellent. Interesting information.
It's a lot of driving, so come prepared.
So now you say that they are provided with a license whenever they finish this course. Does that qualify them to race only here, or is this good at other tracks?
If you complete our 3-day course successfully, you will receive an SCCA novice license, a provisional license, and then that will allow you to go run in SCCA events wheel-to-wheel. After you do 2 or 3 SCCA races, then you can reapply for a full competition license. If you want to get a fast track to a full competition license, you can go to our 3-day school and then come right back and come to our 2-day advanced school. If you complete our 2-day advanced school, you will receive a full competition race license with SCCA.
Oh, cool. Okay, so that's not only is it here for fun, you're here for future things to be licensed as well.
And it looks like pace car is off track, so we should be taking the green flag this time by Raiden Nickel. Should be a green-white checker. Let's see. And look at that. Those Pragas just shooting out there. Oh, man. Back into some 3-wide action, diving into turn 1. Let's see how this shakes out. Who's
Everybody looks like they
pinched?
made it through clean.
And
that's what we like to see.
That is about as clean as you can get through turn 1. Wow.
Thought Chris Hune was going to get passed by several cars there. He finally got in the gas and settled back in 3rd after starting 2nd behind Raiden Nickel.
A nice close-up of William Layton there. You can always tell who he is with that bright neon orange helmet. And look at that, those 2 R1s. Are those 2 R1s or is that – oh, no, Raiden's still in front of him. Yeah, those 2 R1s shot past everybody. And they're kind of duking it out. I think that's the R1 and Chris Hune actually right now. So that's
Chris
Elliot
Hune's in
Alexander.
3rd, yeah.
Yeah, so probably not what you want to restart, with 2 laps to go, because those Pragas will definitely take advantage of the grid being tightened up and just shooting around everybody. But we'll make it a little exciting as everybody's gridded back up and tight for these last 2 laps. We should see the white flag next time by.
Well, I know at this point, Raiden Nickel's got to be excited. He had a disappointing first pre-final, first race out because of issues with the car, but now he's in control of this thing with 1 1/4 laps left to go.
And Chris Hune is making some work on Elliot Alexander, but the problem is I don't think he's going to have enough time left.
Big pass in the carousel right there. Wow. Coming to the white flag.
Yeah.
These guys are not waiting for anything.
Nope. And here we are, 1 lap to go, 1 lap to settle this race. Our largest downforce grid ever. Whoa!
Oh, my, what a shot.
Look
and
at
that was live.
Shane Anderson sideways into the beach.
Wow.
Wow. And he didn't hit anybody.
Good avoidance by everybody else. Heads up driving. Guys paying attention.
He waved at the camera.
Man, oh, man.
Check this
look
out.
at
Oh,
that.
big slide.
Oh, boy.
Man.
Greg Folger, fantastic
He's
job.
going to need a new pair of pants after that.
I have to applaud Greg Folger. Greg saw him in his left mirror. He saw the smoke. He got hard on the anchors. And look at Nicholas Pearson.
Wow.
Another one of those. Man, another great shot.
Wow. What a fantastic move by Greg Folger. Heads up driving. He did not turn in. He saw it coming. Fantastic.
And we're still racing.
If he doesn't get out of the pit down there, what are we going to do for the final?
Well, it's the green flag. It's the checkered flag.
The checkered flag will be a checkered flag and a caution flag. So they'll see the caution flag waving with the checkered flag.
So does that mean when they come out of 16, they have to maintain position?
No, they're
going to
race to the line.
They'll race to the line. Okay. So Nickel leads them. Elliot Alexander is in 2nd spot, and there's the checkered flag and the caution flag, just as you said, coming out.
And Chris Hune trying to get around, just doesn't have the muscle to get around that Praga R1. But Chris Hune will take overall podium spot for SR3. Raiden Nickel, your overall winner for SR1. Elliot Alexander is also your winner for the Praga R1 class. And it looks like John Pearson actually caught up. I guess Nick must have had some trouble because John Pearson caught up past most of the field. He was your 2nd place driver in SR3, with Greg Folger rounding out your top 3 for SR3. Looks like Jack Rambo is going to be your second-place driver for the R1 classification. And then it looks like Pete Folger and Hank Pete will be your second and third-place drivers for SR1 Radical.
Looks like there's a little bit of a typo. That's actually Hank Pate, P-A-T-E.
Well, Tyler, now what are your duties now the rest of the day today? Are you pretty much done, or have you got a lot of things happening with what you have to do?
No, there's always something fun going on. I'm sure I'll be busy for a little bit less. We're going to kind of get everybody together. Everybody's going to kind of celebrate now after these races because everybody's out here to have fun. We're all here to have a good time, good competition, but, clean, safe racing. But, yeah, we'll all be celebrating this afternoon.
Well, it was a great race. It's good to see the Pragas starting to get more involved here. I'm excited about that. And to see this great field of drivers here, I am so excited about our Downforce class.
I'm excited for all the radicals. That's what I'm excited about because that's, I'm not really affiliated with the Pragas, but I'm very happy to kind of see them around as well. But the radicals really just kind of seeing a full field just really makes me happy.
Yeah. So now, if someone buys a new car now, are SR1 still available, or do they have to get the SR10, SR3? What's the status of new vehicles?
There's always something available. If you want to buy a car, I will sell you a car. That is not a problem.
So see Tyler Edwards. Write that name down and call Tyler Edwards. Contact him on the website at Primal Racing if you want to get involved in that. Tyler, it's always great to have you up here.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
You add so much expertise that certainly I know nothing about. Will
I try.
knows more than I do, but I am a novice at this.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me along. I'm happy to see this field continue to grow. And, boy, that spin at the end.
Yeah, that
goodness.
Wow. And we had the camera in place too. That's going to be a highlight reel for sure. I hope
Absolutely.
We have
recording
to
that to his memory card.
I'm serious about Greg Folger though. He had amazing heads-up drive because he saw him coming right here. If you see Greg Folger, he saw him coming. He braked real hard and just squeezed by.
Wow.
And everybody behind Greg also was paying attention, which is just unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable driving. What great skill. You taught him all that, right?
I would like to think so.
I'm sure he did. But some of those things are instinct, and that's a good thing
right.
about having practice over and over and over on this track is
that's correct.
The instincts to kick in. Boy, he's in the weeds for sure. There they got him pulling him out. Tyler Edwards, our guest, and always a lot of insight there. Will, another great day at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Podium finishes coming up.
Yes, we got our driver podium ceremony coming up here shortly as we get Shane recovered off track. So we should be, that's pretty much it for the racing action today. So as we're waiting on him to get off track, we will make our way towards the podiums here in a minute. The autocross track is now closed. The track is open, but scoring is closed, I should say. So it is 4 o'clock, so that means all scoring is done at autocross. So we are going to tabulate those results. We will get the results here from the race day. And we're going to have ourselves a podium ceremony here in about 30 minutes, Charles.
Well, and, of course, next week it's going to be kart track racing here at Atlanta Motorsports Park. We look forward to that. We'll have 100-plus competitors, and it's always a lot of fun to see all of the different personalities involved and a lot of the parents showing up, of course, with their kids. And big family time as we get ready for kart racing next Saturday.
Yes, it'll be a lot of fun. Always action-packed weekends here during the summertime at Atlanta Motorsports Park. You can always come up here just about any day of the week. There's always something going on, but especially on the weekend.
Well, today completes round 4 of our summer championship. How many rounds do we have in summer championship?
We are halfway done, Charles.
Halfway.
We got 4 down, 4 to go.
For the summer.
For the summer. Well, it's more than the summer. It's more like spring, summer, and fall series, but
it's the series.
It's the series. But we are 4 races into the kart racing series, 4 races into the main track series, so we are halfway through our racing program for this year.
Well, it's been fun so far, and I'm sure the fun will continue again next week. Thanks so much. Remember, podium finishes coming up in just a few minutes.